Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Wednesday, December the 4th, 2024. Welcome into our National Signing Day show here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm here at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. You can invest in pro sports by going to investinprosports.com. We've had a very, very busy morning. Breakfast provided this morning by Holly Johnston and Coach DeVita. It's been delicious. But how about the signings? We already got, 15 signings? Does that sound right, Bronny?
I can't keep count.
We can't keep count. Our alerts have been going on and off. And in fact, we're going to show you some of these right now. If you have the TexAgs app, you'll be getting these alerts throughout the day. But already at least 15. Keati Armstrong. 16 is the number. Thank you, Nick. Tyler Thomas, Marcus Garcia, Rashad Johnson, Dejon Petaway, Tristan Norman, Jonte Newman, Nelson McGuire, DeAndre Ryden, Kelvion Riggins, Landon Reek, Kobe Sellers, Chase Sims, Brady Hart, Jamarian Morrow, and Lamont Rogers. So we got a lot to get into. We're going to go to the desk and talk to Ryan Brauninger and Jamie McCoy, who's joining us here for the 8 o'clock hour.
Talk to Jamie first. He's more important than I am.
Tapping you in the shoulder like I told them I would blow in your ear, but I didn't do that.
Why would you?
Just to mess with you. I decided not to.
Glad you didn't get that on camera either.
Jamie, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. How y'all doing today?
Great. 2 days in a row. So you walked in here not long ago, and already we had a bunch of signings. They just happened time and time. And then your big question when you walked in was about a particular offensive lineman, and that was Michael Fasusi.
Yeah. He seemed like a great kid. Not sure if we're going to get him or not, but if we are, he'd be a great grab for us.
Well, Bronny, the intel last night was it was not leaning A&M's direction, I guess?
Well, nobody had a really good feel about it. This is not for me. Yeah, okay. Nobody had a great feel about it last night. When I say nobody, I mean like the writers that cover A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma, checking sources, that kind of thing. Nobody really felt like they were ready to stand on the table and make a firm prediction of what was going to happen today. That being said, I think the latest intel would indicate he's going to stick with his commitment to Oklahoma. Okay. If we had to guess. Now, that is not stone cold lead pipe lock, but we think it's trending that way. And you do this long enough, and you start to realize that if a kid is going to come to Texas A&M, we're going to start getting some real clues prior to it happening. So if it gets close to him making a decision, he's announced that he is going to sign today at 2 o'clock. In Louisville. We haven't heard any A&M momentum on that front yet. And usually if he's going to sign or the kid was going to pick the Aggies, we'd start to get wind of it by now.
But that's not the only thing we're monitoring, because there's some, I don't know if developments is the right way to phrase it, but wide receiver is something we're obviously paying a lot of attention to, Brian.
Yeah, one of the bigger things that we're tracking today is what happens with Jerome Miles. And kind of been a topsy-turvy recruitment if you're looking at it through an A&M lens from the standpoint that was once committed to Ole Miss, decommitted from Ole Miss, and A&M got right in the thick of the fight then, chooses USC over A&M in his second commitment, comes to College Station this weekend, decommits, and everything was pointing to it's done. He's an Aggie. He's coming. He'll be an early enrollee. And then a couple of nights ago, he puts out a graphic saying he will not be signing in the early window. Now, I think that has kind of maybe been undone, or maybe that is not cemented as that graphic would make it seem. I know the Aggie coaching staff, recruiting staff has been on the phone with the kid and the family over the course of the last 2 days. It's something we really need to monitor. I think now he is going to sign in the early window. I think.
If you can take a look over there, just signed moments ago. Josh Moses is the latest guy to sign, so that brings up the number.
The latest, but the earliest.
The latest.
The first commitment of the class of 2025. He committed to Jimbo Fisher and Steve Adazio way back when. So Josh has kind of been through the ringer with the Aggies, and he's been around. He's been on that commit list a long time.
Jamie, I know that Jerome Miles just jumped in.
There it is. I mean, we literally.
It happened.
We literally just said it. And if you read my update last night, it's a 5-star receiver.
Let's go.
J-Mac.
Let's go.
So what I wrote last night in my update, we did a signing day eve thread, and I just wanted to kind of have fresh information for everybody. I posted a thread saying I was feeling better about A&M, and they were having discussions. And then about an hour later, I got 2 separate phone calls within about 10 minutes of each other. And then I posted, the fat lady could be singing the war hymn on this thing.
Yeah, I saw when you wrote that, yeah.
And it turns out it was true. So the sourcing on this was spot on. There's one worry with Jerome Miles, and it's just his injury history. He played in 6 games as a junior, battled through some injuries, then got 1 game into his senior year and had a knee injury. So he doesn't have a lot of volume on him right now, but the athletic skill set, I mean, this is Nico Collins-esque in terms of the body style, the play style, with more top-end juice. This kid is the real freaking deal. If he can come here and get developed, he is probably my bet now for the earliest playing time of anybody in the class.
I was going to ask, day one kind of guy?
Just because he's such an impactful player as an athlete, and he's at a position of need.
Yeah. Speaking on development, man, for me, some of these young kids, when you hear about an injury history, when they get into the college atmosphere and get training, like the training that you get in college and these type of coaches that you have around you, that kind of eliminates a lot of that injury history. So I'm hoping that that happens to be the case with Mr. Moffitt. And he's able to get him on the field for us and keep him on the field because we absolutely need receivers.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, you get a chance to look at the clips and just the game-breaking ability down the field. You see him, he likes to push the routes vertical. A lot of the clips that you see on tape, Jamie, are vertical to post, vertical to corner, post corner. So he likes to step on DB's toes, right? But there is some element to his game. I mentioned Nico Collins because of that physicality over the middle of the field after the catch. It's essentially like kind of a running back in a wide receiver body, the way he runs after the catch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in vertical to post, you think about what A&M was missing this year on offense. It was that element, somebody that could go stretch a defense and command that you put 2 safeties back there and keep everybody deep. So guys like that just open it up for the tight ends across the middle, which is my line of work. So you love that.
This is a massive deal today. I mean, you went from out of the race, in the race, out of the race, in the race throughout the course of the recruiting cycle. And then even within the last 48 hours, you went from this is happening. I mean, he was taking photos with the group of commits on Saturday at Kyle Field. He was telling some of the guys in the class, I'm in, I'm coming. That was happening on Saturday. Then on Sunday, you get not going to sign in the early window, like what happened. And then now the A&M coaching staff, I mean, what a job of closing by Holman Wiggins, by Mike Elko, the entire recruiting staff. I mean, when you have to ride the ups and downs in recruiting these days. Jamie, I think these recruiting sites and just kind of the attention, the spotlight on recruiting was probably just getting started when you were coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And so you guys didn't have to weather as much of the publicity of some of these kids are. But it's not just the kids weathering it. The coaches have to weather it too.
Absolutely.
And so if you do something or say something to Jerome Miles when he commits to USC over you during the season, that's going to burn the bridge. You don't have a day like today.
Yeah.
You got to play the long game.
Oh, yeah. It's you like you say, you got to stay in touch with these kids, and you got to kind of be in a sense of, hey, I'm on your side. Hey, you made a decision. I'm not going to rock the boat, but we still would like you to come here. And nothing's decided until these guys actually sign that dotted line and send the facts in. So the fact that we were able to stay patient, get this kid. I mean, he looks like a great get. I mean, he's doing slants. He's double moves, catching everything with his hands. He's going up and high pointing the ball. Absolutely a great get for us right now, and I'm excited. This is fantastic news. 5-star receiver. Gosh, I'm just hoping that Klein can do something with this, and he's licking his chops.
Jamie, if you go back to the Texas game, it was apparent that in the trenches they were better, and also the skill position they were significantly better. This goes a long way because the 22 class that was so discussed, those skill position players aren't here. Right? Yeah. Most of them are gone. I mean, even your 5-star quarterback gone. Right, yeah. Like he's entering the portal as of yesterday, Connor Wigman. You need players like this to have a chance in the SEC, considering that's what Ole Miss is getting, wide receivers like this. Texas has, Alabama has it. A&M has to keep up with that.
Oh, yeah, you absolutely need it. And I said it in our comments yesterday. We need a bona fide stud that says, give me the ball. And like I said, even when I'm covered, I'm uncovered. Think of Jamar Chase in that sense. This kid kind of reminds me, he's taller in stature, but he reminds me of like a DJ Moore. It's kind of a guy unleashed and ready to get the ball and do what it takes. Once he gets it in his hands, he can take it the distance, which we need a guy like that. I made mention of us doing a lot of dink and dunk in that game against Texas, and he just seems like a guy that can, like we said, be a threat down the field, go up and high point the ball, go keep the chains moving. Seems like an absolute weapon that muchly needed for us.
Brian, we just got another signing, Jamar Beal-Goins.
Yeah, it's impossible for me to keep up right now. Trying to get everything, all the stuff.
This is awesome.
We have produced so much content, and we've gotten too far into the show without talking about the work of the people behind the camera today. Nick Savage is a daggum rock star in our company, but especially with this stuff. Richard Zane, Kay Nagley, Katie Smith, Callie Garner, Matthew Dawson, Cade Bickham, they're all back there. And all the stuff that you see coming out from TexAgs right now, it's all because of the work those people are doing. So we tip our hats to the job they've done off the camera. We're going to sit here and we're going to talk, right? But the grunt work's being done, the real work's being done behind that door right there.
Well, then I will Johnny top him. How about the props that you, Jason Howell, Billy Liucci get for this intel? And this is why we're
Jason,
able to do
sure,
this.
but not Billy.
He's back there.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm watching him eat breakfast tacos as we speak.
Okay.
Thank you to Costa Vida and Holly Johnston, by the way. All right, tell us more about Jamar Beal-Goins.
Yeah, a huge get out of the desert state of Arizona. When you look at cornerback attributes and skills, they're getting very refined and they're getting kind of very specific with what they're looking for at the collegiate level because they see what's working at the professional level, right? And so the number one thing, and especially this goes back to Mike Elko's time whenever he was the defensive coordinator here. He was looking for two kind of guys at corner, a big physical guy a la Jalen Jones, but guys that can really run and cover. Like, I don't know that he's super worried about a 6'3" guy if the 5'10" guy can run and cover. Mm-hmm. Like it's kind of this idea that, well, that 6'3" wingspan doesn't work if you're not close to the guy you're supposed to be covering. Jamar Beal-Goins checks a lot of the physical boxes that Mike Elko is looking for. Not just Mike Elko, a whole list of college coaches across the country. He can fly. This kid can really run. He comes out of a metro area in Phoenix that's produced more and more big-time players. Obviously, A&M got one with Christian Kirk not too long ago. This is kind of a kid that flew under the radar but was a massive get. And A&M chose him over a really talented group of corners that were, that was one of the positions at the onset of the recruiting cycle. I was like, I'm really interested to see where they go at corner because they're going to have some decisions to make. And early on, they said Jamar Beal-Goins is a guy we got to have. And they went out and landed him over the summer with a great job of good push throughout the spring, and then they were able to close on him over the likes of USC, Oregon, Florida, Arizona State. It was a big get. This kid can really, really run.
Well, with that, Billy Liucci joining us here in studio. In a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Landon Rink on the program at a little bit after 8:20. We will get to that. But Billy walking into the studio. Billy, was it 16, 17 guys have already signed their letters?
Always good, and I don't know.
19 now.
I don't know how many fights the Aggies are fighting this morning, true fights. There's always a couple. You know that's going to be going down. And there's rumors of Texas going after Texas going after Sanders this morning.
Yep.
That's one that they're, I think they've tried it for a while there on Sims, right? They've been wanting, it seems
Well, they
like.
made another run at Sims and DJ, and Sims signed this morning.
Yep.
I've been given no reason to worry on DJ.
Yep.
In fact, I just talked to somebody that said we're fine, and it's fine. It would be something that Olin's on his way to Belleville right
Exactly.
now. And he gets there, and the kid does something crazy.
No, but I think you're off to an expected start this morning. Could be a surprise, A&M's way by the end of it. We'll see. But I think this class, Bronny and I will talk about it a lot moving forward today, but especially even this evening. But I think this is the kind of class you'll see when the ink's dry, you'll start seeing under Elko. They've gone all over the country. They've really hammered a couple of positions they wanted to hammer, which were the defensive backfield, the offensive line, and linebacker. Edge guys, let's just go linebacker / edge. I think they've hammered those three. They identified them as spots in the program where, in terms of the young talent on campus, they need to continue to upgrade. In terms of the secondary, I think this class plus secondary and O-line, this class plus what they just signed last year are going to really take those positions to another level moving forward. I heard you guys just talking about one of the DBs that signed that I think could be a real difference maker. And then tailback, when you went from 1 to 2 and you look at the 2 that they're going to sign here today, I think that's a position that they really shored up. And that's a position that could have impact as early as next year. When you saw how things went this season, had you had a superstar true freshman tailback by the time Le'Veon Moss got hurt, which was like game 8, was it game 8? Game 9 even, those guys would have been ready. Those guys would have been ready to, help share the load with Amari Daniels and make an impact. So that's a position where you could really see it.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break because Landon Ring's going to be calling the show at around 8:20, so we'll do that. Bronny, just out of curiosity, if 19 guys have already signed, how big can this class look?
In terms of number and what we're going to get in today, 24, 25.
So we're almost there.
Yeah, I mean, I think me and Billy just got a text. This DJ Sanders stuff is definitely worth looking into.
Okay.
Texas is making a late run here.
Okay. We'll follow up with that on the other side. Right now, prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. It's a great time to think about Prize Picks for several reasons. A lot of these kids that we're talking about, they're going to be a part of this game next year where you can do more than or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections. So you get some ideas of what Jerome Miles is going to do. If he's on there, you pick more than or less than. I'm going to say more than on that. And you can do it for any sport. You can do basketball. You can do UFC. You can do baseball. You name it. They will take care of you because that's what they do. They set it all up for you and make it super easy to win. Again, prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. It is Prize Picks. Welcome back to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. It is our National Signing Day show here for 2024, and breakfast this morning provided by Coach DeVita. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline, one of the early signees, and there's been a bunch of them this 8 o'clock hour here during the Go Hour, is Landon Rink, and he joins us on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Landon, welcome to TexAgs Live. Thanks for joining us, and congratulations on an amazing and fun day.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to be here.
Landon, congratulations, buddy. It's been such a pleasure to get to cover you and get to know you. What are the feelings like today as you finally put pen to paper? I know it's been a long time coming, but what are your feelings like this morning?
I mean, it's official now. I'm excited to finally sign and set in stone, and I'm just ready to get to work now.
What are you looking forward to the most about getting into to College Station with this group of guys that you've really been like a leader in this commit class? What's it like now? What are you looking forward to about working with all these guys you've gotten to know?
I can't wait to work with all. I feel like we have the right group of guys. I mean, we're like I feel like we're the most connected commit class out of every and honestly, I mean, we all know each other, we all love each other, we all know we're ready to turn this whole thing upside down.
And what do you think when you think about your relationship with Coach Tony Girard-Eddy and Coach Spence? How has that grown since like day one? Like, what do you know about them as guys now that maybe you didn't know when they started recruiting you?
I mean, every day just learn. I learn new stuff about this every day. I love how they coach and how they work with their guys and the techniques they use. And I mean, I can't wait to be coached by those two guys.
And then what is your family's reaction to today? I know you and your dad got an incredible relationship. He's been your coach for so long. What do you think it's going to be like for old dad, like dropping you off to other guys to coach you?
I feel like he's going to be a little bit scared, but he's excited. He helped me pick out A&M, and he knows that Coach Tony and Coach Spence are the right coach to coach me, and he knows that they're going to do a great job coaching me.
Can you take me back through all your trips to A&M? Was there one that really stood out where you said, all right, I made the right choice here, I'm all in with the Aggies?
It was just probably my official visit. It's just I committed before my official visit, and then when I took my official visit, that's when I was like, oh yeah, this is the place. I mean, every visit I go on is always it's like almost the best visit I went on because it's just they always bring it the best.
Excuse me. Landon, let's just talk about what you think the vibe is going to be here next year. What do you think the vibe is after Coach Elko's first year here at Texas A&M and what you guys are going to bring to the table?
Hey, hold on a second.
I feel like this class is about to bring a whole bunch of hard work, and we're going to put in the work. I feel like a lot of us will be able to play early and be able to dominate on the field as soon as possible and bring a big impact.
Landon, we appreciate your time, man. Congratulations on a wonderful day. We can't wait to see you here in maroon and white and get you here enrolled quickly, all right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Landon Rink here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Jamie, I know that Nick sent you some homework assignments to kind of go over some players. Was he part of your mix?
He was not.
He was not.
I had a lot of the O-line guys and then Quixote.
Okay.
Which I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Kid.
What was your big takeaway from the offensive line that you read?
My big takeaway was we got a lot of what they call hog mollies.
Hog mollies?
Yeah. A lot of these guys are tackles that when you're playing in high school, you're not always going to be playing against the level that you're going to play against in college. So a lot of these guys, Billy knows I played quarterback in high school and ended up doing receiver and tight end. So you kind of get mixed up and you'll end up in a different spot in college that just kind of suits your needs better. So a few of these guys, they all played tackle, which is what you need at that high school level. But I think a few of them are probably going to shift to guard. But what I love seeing was all I kept thinking and playing over in my mind is this kid can help us on these 4th and 1s.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they were whether it's combo blocks, sifting through on pass protection. Once these guys get their hands on you, they're mean and violent and they finish strong. So that was my big takeaway was we got some guys that play violent, which is what you want on that offensive line. and then we got some guys that can also come out. I think a couple of them may be able to insert themselves early on and get some playing time and help us out.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. It was
We're chasing down.
It's just signing day.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And I'm assuming we got similar intel. You wait till the formal announcement, but I think coming out of that break versus going into it, feel better about where they're at with DJ Sanders. You know, I mean, again, this was a thing where it's signing day.
Your
I mean, no. It's just, I mean,
runs.
it was. I hate that because I love Landon Rank, and I didn't want to take it. And I thank you for jumping in and finishing the interview. But there's certain, you know this, like on signing day when your phone rings and it says somebody's a certain name.
Yeah, there's a list. There's a cutoff. There's a cutoff. It's like
DJ Sanders is in.
He's
okay,
in.
He's
he
in.
just signed.
Perfect.
There you
So,
go.
There you go.
Crisis averted, ladies and gentlemen. Crisis averted.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that. I like the fact that Texas went after an Aggie commit just 4 days after, or 4 days after beating A&M, and they thought they were going to just flex and just steal a guy they really wanted late. And he's a guy in DJ Sanders at Texas. It came down to Texas and A&M. He's from Belleville High School, which that is an area of the state.
What could you imagine if he'd have flipped?
That's the only good thing about it. I would have hated it. The only silver lining would have been to never let Hunter hear the end of it. But the reality is that area of the state, that area, and by the way, the one that originally let us know that info, we're just going to add that to his ledger as well.
Yeah.
Because he's got quite the ledger forming. I know you're listening to our good friend here. But that area of the state, Brenham, Belleville, even LaGrange, Shiner, where you got Dalton Brooks.
There's so many Aggies through that
well,
whole
but
stretch.
there's also, because proximity-wise, it's kind of split. You fight some real battles in there. You go back and think of like Lima Sweet and Malcolm Brown, guys closer to your era that went to Texas, and all the guys that have come to A&M. So it is, the Aggies and Longhorns fought for J.K. Dobbins and both lost out on him to Ohio State. But usually that's an A&M Texas fight. So that was an important one, man. Do we want to go in to DJ Sanders now, or
let's hit a break so we stay on the clock. Get to DJ Sanders on the other side. Let's talk 1775. Usually this is where Olin and I just kind of chit-chat about going to eat there. But since Jamie McCoy's here, I'm about to take you to 1775, my friend. Have you been?
I hadn't been there yet.
Okay, we got to get you there.
Are you dragging him into this commercial now?
I'm dragging everybody in. Billy, you should go with us to lunch there too.
I've been to 1775.
Okay, I know you have.
I love the turkey.
The turkey's great there. My favorite is the queso mac and cheese. And
I've not had that yet, but I will.
He has one spoonful and then chews it up.
Dude, I drank it like
this is my favorite.
Okay.
This is my favorite.
It is my favorite. You guys don't think you've gone to lunch with me, Billy? I eat more than what people say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't study what any of my friends eat, but I would probably notice if you ate like a bird. I've certainly never let Seth live down the fact that he orders Chinese food with the sauce on the side. How you think that's acceptable behavior in America is beyond me, but he'll pour it, he'll dip a bite of it looks like it's like broiled chicken into the thing, and that is not what they do at 1775. No. They don't broil anything.
They're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 8203 Raymond Stausser Parkway in College Station, 77845. I don't know why I told you that part. It is 1775txbbq.com.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
We are back on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse and CC Creations here on our National Signing Day show. Breakfast provided by Costa Vida, the NASCAR show that you love to talk about so much. Bronny, you do.
Golly.
It was so aggressive.
I know. I like being aggressive. Anyway, we left it with DJ Sanders. We're going to break down his game. And
yeah, it's kind of been a wild topsy-turvy first hour just because all these last year it wasn't like this. The last few years it hasn't been like this. Mm-hmm. But this is the first signing day under Mike Elko where, they have really their stamp on the class. So I think this is something that the coaching staff wanted to do. Hey, let's get all these signatures in early. Because I can remember last year kind of waiting around to see what was going to happen. And we went off air, and I think there was 3 or 4 more commitments after signees after we went off the air. But, yeah, this is definitely it's given us a lot to talk about. So I don't even know that we've started our player breakdown very much.
No, we have not. And, interestingly, when Coach Elko called his press conference for noon, that's when they're going to do it today. I was like, we'll see how many. Mm-hmm. And already in the 8 o'clock hour, you got more three-fourths of your maybe
only
more
8 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. The only one that we're waiting on from the state of Texas now, I believe, is Kelshawn Johnson at Hitchcock. And then the remainder of the commit class that's out there is West Coast kids. So they were going to be a little bit later.
You know what I like about this class is so many of these guys, and I know we got a lot to talk about with Jerome Miles and Lamont Rogers and Morrow, like the guys that, there's been this last minute, they've been working on them forever, but this little flurry here at the end, little flurry / big flurry. Brady Hart was less than a week ago or so. You've got, obviously Morcos. So that's 5 now that they've added in, let's say, the last week. Is that an accurate count? 5 in the last week or so. That's a pretty good.
Yeah.
When you consider that, when with Miles and Rogers at the top of that list, and Brady Hart, who would have been really highly rated had it been a year from now. There's a pretty damn strong closing kick just in terms of the rankings and stuff too, but also just getting who you want and getting some potential impact guys or potential big-time players for you in the future. But I love the fact that most of this class, we haven't talked about these guys in a while, so we do have some kind of refreshing to do because they had this group in the boat and locked up and secured for a long time. They had them in for a long time. They put this class together pretty damn early, and you're already seeing them do the same thing with 26. And I think even a higher level, and we'll talk about that maybe towards the end of the show, but what they've done is those guys didn't waver. And that part of that is, I think that's Mike Elko, and it speaks to him and his staff, and just they're not going to let guys fall through the cracks over a long period of time where they go, I haven't heard from the Aggies. I haven't heard from my assistant coach or my coordinator. Like, and that's what happens. And we've seen it here a lot over the years. I'm not saying every head coach that's here has done that, but, Jamie McCoy is out there, out there in Midland, and he's like, man, I love A&M, but I haven't heard from who recruited you.
Gosh, Thurman. Cornerback.
I haven't heard from Chris Thurman in 6 weeks, and Texas is calling me every day. OU's coach calls me, 3 times a week. We don't get that anymore. So commits are going to tend to stick, and when they commit, they're going to tend to sign. That's number one. And number two, this is what happens when you have a really good season. That you started the year with a loss. Throughout, you won 7 in a row. You had big home games. You won a couple of big home games. You played in some really high-profile games. You stayed in the rankings pretty much all season, and this is what happens. You tend to have a very stable, secure group come signing day.
Jay, what jumps out at you so far from what you've seen?
Like Billy mentioned, just the loyalty aspect of it. A lot of these guys, you're going to have guys calling, texting, hitting you up, social media, all these aspects, but just the fact this day and age with the NIL and people promising you this and that, I just love like we said, it's not even 9 o'clock and we got 75% of the board covered and guys are signed. And to me, that just says that these kids are loyal.
Yeah.
Which is kind of rare in this day and age with people hitting the portal, decommitting, doing all these things. You love to see that these guys are committed and ready to put their hand in the pile.
One thing that I find very impressive, guys, and maybe I'm missing something here, but a couple years ago was the Harold Perkins, very public decommit, Anthony Hill, and I feel like this group has been steadfast about their loyalty to A&M.
Yeah, I mean, you lost Connor Carty, an interior offensive lineman from Prosper. Was it yesterday, day before?
Yeah, that was for obvious reasons.
And you know, it was kind of a numbers game there, right? I mean, you're looking at 6 offensive line names on the board, and they're kind of still milling around for Michael Fasusi later today. I just think Connor Carty probably wanted a little bit cleaner path, like a little bit clearer picture of what he was going to look at walking into a program. But no, you're right that the loyalty that Jamie mentioned, and it's not easy, man. Like, we fully anticipated them signing these West Coast kids, but they had to fight real battles for Marco Jones and Adonis Curry and Noah McHale, not just to get their commitment, but to also keep them in the fold with guys or teams like Oregon and
you've
USC.
got Oregon. It's been the number 1 team virtually all season, making runs. You've got USC flipping your quarterback and then thinking that they were going to ride that momentum, maybe to go get another California recruit or two, and they haven't.
And the kind of the inverse, it's funny how that happens is they flip Hassan Longstreet and then you flip Jerome Miles.
Right. Well, and you also get Brady Hart here, which was your counter. And I think you countered very quickly considering how close to the deadline
you
was.
lost a quarterback, you're going to sign 2 between Brady Hart and Eli Morcos.
Well, and again, like, where would Brady Hart be talked about next year? Had Brady Hart stayed true to the original course,
well, he probably ain't A&M
and signed with Michigan.
Yeah.
And a year from now, like, what would people be talking about that Michigan quarterback signee from Florida they got? I think he would have been, one of the more highly regarded guys at the position. I mean, definitely would have been one of the more, but I think there would have been a ton of hype, a ton of buzz around him on signing day in Ann Arbor a year from now, without question. So it's not about did you recover because you went and got a body. They went and got 2, and they got a big-time prospect out of Florida, and then they went right down the road in the Montgomery area. Is that what we're calling it?
Montgomery Lake
area.
Steve McKinney area.
I never know where the cutoff lines,
Steve McKinney
where
area.
the lines are drawn in these suburbs. And then you went and got a guy that you think has a ton of upside and that really just put it together to another level as a senior.
And
it's coming up and coming.
You talk about one of the big things, not just with quarterback, but
you want to talk about the quarterbacks right now?
Every position, I think it's fit.
Do we want to talk about the quarterbacks, or are you talking about fit every position? Because we could talk about the 2 QBs.
Well, I was getting there.
Yeah, I'm asking you. It's a conversation.
Brady Hart on the TV.
There you go. Good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Go ahead.
See what I say you guys have this little rivalry? This
it was on the TV. That's all I was talking about. It's been on the TV. He can't
Where's
see
Howell at? Where's Howell at?
Howell,
Don't we have him
catch
coming
up with him
on
later.
to save the show?
No, we're going to
I see what you did.
Howell said, you know what? I don't need to be on with you guys. I've got Tiger earlier than I expected. So
really? Because Howell needs a little airtime today. What schools is he at today?
DeSoto, Midlothian, and then it'll kind of depend on what happens with Fasusi, whether he goes back to Louisville or he stays on that side of Dallas and goes to Mesquite Horn.
Whatever it takes
later this afternoon.
To get you to be able to go work the phones and get us some more faulty info this morning.
Wow.
The fit for the quarterbacks, I think, is so important. And obviously, Brady Hart, when you look at his skill set and he's so young, he fits kind of whatever. I mean, that's an elite skill set. He just needs time at the dinner table and in the weight room. I mean, he's long-armed, big frame, but is going to hold a lot more weight. And so you're interested to see what that looks like in 18 months from just a strength perspective. But Eli Morcos, that is fit for Colin Klein. When you watch Eli Morcos' senior tape, it is like it's built for what Colin Klein wants to do offensively. And you look at the success he had with a kid like Avery Johnson, and that was like kind of the recruit he hung his hat on. That was a big-time national recruit that he went and got to Kansas State. Eli Morcos does a lot of similar things, but it's a more physical running style.
He's going to be a bigger
6'2", 205, 210. And that senior tape, I'm telling you, don't look at that. They flipped him from Tulsa. Just turn the tape on.
Just turn the tape.
It's 11 minutes long. It's over 75 plays.
Colin Klein might see a little bit of himself in the way Morcos runs as a bigger dude. Now he's not as tall as he might end up being that tall. Who knows? But Colin Klein was hard to bring down, and that's what you see a lot in Morcos as well. Brady Hart, it cracks me up. And people, when he committed, that were trying to throw shade on the commit because on his tape you can just see how skinny he is and stuff. But you see his height and his frame, and it's like anyone that's worried about how slight he is at this age, you haven't watched a high school prospect into an early college prospect when he gets in the way.
He's 16 years old.
Yeah, and his frame, though, is such, too, that, like, you can just see it and know that that's a frame that's going to fill out. Like, honestly, Marcel Reed is a frame that will have a harder time filling out, and he will, but he's not. He's just, Marcel's already so much muscle packed. You know, Marcel's a really muscled up dude, but he's skinny. And, you know, Marcel to me
skinny ripped like Nuno.
Yeah, like Nuno.
I think I'm skinny now.
Skinny ripped.
You'll take it.
Okay.
No, I don't know. You never know if he'll take it or not. He might go home.
I like the word ripped.
He might go home and be like, that means I have no muscles.
I got to go bulk.
Sorry, I'm in a bulking phase.
I actually am in a cut phase.
Well, but with Marcel, like, can he add like 10 pounds? Like Brady Hart's a guy that you look at and you go, this kid's going to be like 20, 25 pounds heavier when it's all said and done.
Absolutely. I mean, to your point, I came in at 180 when I left high school, and I remember that my freshman year, we played Texas at the end of the year, and I'm looking out and I see Vince Young, and I'm like, I need to be that build. And shoot, before you knew it, I was 220. So
how long did it take you?
I'd say a year and a half,
year and
2
a half?
years, yeah, something like that. But I mean, these guys have time, and that's the great thing with these recruits is it's about potential and where you see them down the line. So I'm sure he'll come in with that mindset of, let me get my weight up and then see what I can do.
I'll say this about both the quarterbacks. They could not have hit more of a home run in terms of quality of human being and just presence. You know, one of the things about quarterbacks is I think they need to be quarterbacky in the way they kind of interact with people, their confidence in interviews, the way they speak, all that kind of, both of those kids off the charts. Those aren't requisite traits, but they're just good traits to have when you have quarterbacks. Both of those kids, Eli Morcos and Brady Hart, blew me away with their just mental capacity to get their words out fluidly in an interview. They're respectful, well-mannered. They're good kids. Like, you're bringing in quality kids to the locker room.
All right, let's hit a break here. You look like you're going to say something, Bill.
No.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with more here on our signing day coverage. And thank you to Costa Vida for providing us our breakfast. Right now, FBS Appliance and their team of experts are here to help you with the appliances that make your house a home. They have all the top brands, and they've been taking care of Texas since 1988. They have the trusted brands like Bosch, expert staff, trained installers to guide you through the purchase because FBS Appliance wants to be your trusted appliance store. In fact, I saw Liberty and Case yesterday at our event. It was great to see them. They are awesome. They will take great care of you. They've got 8 showrooms across Texas, but they got one right down the road from us here on Wellborn and College Station. Visit their website, factorybuilderstores.com. That's factorybuilderstores.com. Check out FBS. It is our National Signing Day show here, brought to you by Costa Vida. They brought us to breakfast. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's check in with Jason Howell on the Boss Firearms Hotline. He was just at Tiger Ryan's ceremony. Jason, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. How's it going?
It's going well. So I know you were on assignment, and as you're driving and getting to these schools, we've had like over 20 people sign, man.
Yeah, I know, man. I just pulled up here at DeSoto. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of maroon, Tiger riding, making it official. Got the signature already in and everything, but he's pumped up, ready to go. Got a big family gathering as well as several other signings over here. So, but it's a rainy day here in Dallas, and it made the roads a little bit treacherous.
Well, we got about a minute and a half in this segment. It's a very short one. Just educate the audience on what kind of player Tiger is.
Tiger's in every down, all-purpose back. He's, believe it or not, he's one of their best receivers out here at DeSoto, but he's a workhorse at running back. He may not be the flashiest, but you look up at the end of the game and look at that stat sheet, and he's averaged 9 yards a carry. He's just every down, all-purpose back that brings a nice complementary piece with Jamari and Morrow. They really fit together well, and just one of the big selfless leaders here at DeSoto.
Well, Jason, I know we'll catch up with you at some point during this show, or definitely with Bronny from 5 to 7. Thanks for your work, buddy. We'll catch up with you here soon. Thank you. Jason Howell there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Jamie McCoy is going to be tagged out for Brandon Leone. Jamie, just...
Can you give me a paper?
We have 45 seconds. Just your thoughts on how this hour played out, at least for the Aggies.
All great news. Whenever you can get these guys in early and know that it's solidified, it's always a big plus and a bonus for us. So I'm excited. I know the season didn't end the way that we wanted it to, but it seems like all the guys that they recruited, they kind of got the Elko stamp, the Elko sign of approval, and these are all guys that are willing to put their hand in the pile and help us move forward. So I'm excited for bigger and better things next season in 25 and then beyond that.
Good stuff, right? Hey, just so you're aware, everybody was talking about how good you were on the show yesterday. They liked the way you were talking to players into staying another year. They liked that.
Yeah. I mean, it's all facts. We need everybody to put it back, bring it back like Clemson did that year. And you got a bad taste in your mouth. We gotta right those wrongs.
Right those wrongs with those guys and the new guys. A lot more of our signing day coverage next on TexAgs Live. All right, we are back here on our National Signing Day show, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studios.
That smells good.
Breakfast provided by Coach DeVita here on TexAgs Live. So we had Jamie McCoy for 2 straight days, and I get to see Brandon Leone for 2 straight days. What's up, bro?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
So have you been... Yeah, I got a bite? Have you been paying attention to all the things happening this morning? Because it's been signing after signing after signing.
No, I have, and I'm sure you already touched on it, but, you know, after the sad news Saturday, to see what Elko and the team have done with Lamont Rogers, the receiver, you know, that seemed like it was going to be bad news yesterday, and everybody was freaking out. And
Jerome Miles.
I mean, those are the type of gets that you have to get in order to compete, you know, in the SEC and just on a national stage. But number 1 player in Utah, right? I mean, explosive. That to me, and Billy's talked on this all year, so have you. We all have. We need a true deep threat that can stretch the field, that can make defensive coordinators nervous. And I feel like the receiver class in general does that. But, man, seeing them get that guy and just the overall team speed, that was, to me, the thing that I noticed in the game on Saturday. It just seemed like they'd run a 10-yard comeback, catch the ball, and run away from our DB before we even broke on the ball. And so we need those guys that are explosive at receiver to go and make our team someone that doesn't give up explosive plays but gets explosive plays.
Well, both, and I think you just said it. And I think the same with the defenders. And I really like what the Aggies have coming back in the secondary. And just spoiler alert, you know, they're looking really good in terms of returnees, which is just as important as signing day. We should probably do in like a week a portal, not exit portal signing or incoming portal signing day, but an exit portal kind of assessment of your program every year that every coaching staff's going to have to do, where you're like, hey, you're going to lose some players that the fans want to keep around, but it's like, how many returning starters what did you keep, you know, versus how many you lost, and then how many young guys in the program that you really are excited about did you lose? And I think they're going to do a great job in that department. But when I'm talking about the secondary, I think they're going to do an outstanding job there with returning those guys. And some of them are really pretty gifted athletes. You look at guys like Riggs and Brooks, and you hope to get Chappelle. Well, you will get him back and get him back from that injury as well. But you're right about needing those guys at receiver, and we've talked about it all year. But you also need to continue to upgrade the guys tackling those playmakers, because it wasn't just Texas. You know, you saw it with Auburn. You saw it with South Carolina. You saw it with those running backs at Notre Dame. I mean, you've got to continue to, I think, upgrade the raw athleticism in that back seven, and I think this class did both at receiver and in the secondary. But man,
Billy, how long have we been talking about a deep threat though? Because I mean, there was potential, but like I don't know if we've seen it. Like,
I think with more development from Marcel, I think Noah has shown me a lot where I'm like, I think he could do that more consistently. He's open more consistently on that stuff. I know everybody saw the play against Texas before halftime last Saturday. I think it would have been a touchdown. You know, and I think he can. And Marcel did hit him in that LSU game, and he did catch the slant and take off to the house against Auburn. So I think he can be that guy next year to a degree. But Miles, I like a 5-star receiver, Bronny, with his makeup. Like, it seems like he's the type kid. This is not. Everybody talks about all the 5-star receivers A&M's gotten that haven't done anything. Well, the one that did pan out was a first-class kid from the second. They started recruiting him to the second he stepped foot on campus, all the way through till today, and Christian Kirk.
Yep.
And a lot of these 5-stars that everybody talks about that A&M has not had any success with that receiver, you go and look down the list, and I can think just right off the top of my head about 3 of them that they were, to varying degrees, problematic. And you could throw in a 4th one in like Speedy Noyle from years ago. Those 4 guys were, you took a risk with Chris Marshall, you took a risk with Damon Demas, and you took a risk with Speedy Noyle, and everyone in the country knew it. Everyone in the country knew that those were high risk, high reward guys, but high risk. That was not necessarily the case with Evan, but he was difficult from throughout his time. And I think that's still the case. He's difficult. But I put Evan in a little different category than those three. Evan, I don't think, was quote-unquote high risk. The one that wasn't any of those was Christian Kirk. And I think that's what you're getting in Miles as well, along with, I think, great playmaking ability and great ball awareness, like what they call it, like spatial awareness. He understands taking the top off, and he's got his quarterback coming here in year 2, so that can't hurt.
The one question you have about him, like I mentioned off the top, is just the injuries.
Yep.
I think he played in 6 games as a junior, 1 game as a senior before he had the knee injury. So that can be good and bad. He doesn't have a lot of tape. He doesn't have a lot of miles on him. Yeah. And that can be a good thing, but it also you kind of want to see him do a bigger body of work. But the reason why he's rated where he is because of the raw physical talent. And the comp that I made to him was like Nico Collins with more top end juice. Mm-hmm. That's the way he runs routes. He's 6'2", 6'3". He's going to be in that 210-pound range. Big, stocky, sturdy dude with like real track times.
Yeah, we'll take
real track times.
A moment ago, Adonis Curry signs from Lancaster, California, the cornerback. Can you update us on his?
Just 1 second.
Okay, my bad.
I like Adonis Curry.
Yeah, you were doing some research.
Tell us about him.
Well, I mean, he's rangy. He's explosive. If you look at his tape, he's got great ball skills. He's high pointing the ball a ton as a DB, and we have guys that I think tend to get mossed every now and then, and that's an important factor. I mean, these DBs that can play both ways, that were at receiver, but you watch him coming off the corner. I think Elko utilizes the DB blitz a lot, and he's aggressive coming off the corner. He doesn't hesitate. That's a big thing. Timing, and then do you hesitate a little bit? Because if you do, that split second can be just enough for the quarterback to get the ball off. And so you got to get to the quarterback when you blitz, and he got there the few times they showed him. But again, these guys going out of state, grabbing one of the top players in another state, and continually, I think, to me, that something's been great since we've been in the SEC is just seeing the brand expand nationally. I mean, look how many players they got from other states, top players in 2 of the states.
Yeah.
But yeah, Adonis Curry, huge upgrade to the secondary. And
this is your Jalen Jones starter kit. Mm-hmm. It's just thinner. It's just thinner, but it's a very similar body style, long, and he's got better top end speed than Jalen. The reason why he was such an intriguing prospect for so many schools is because of the length that he possesses, but the top end speed. And you just, this Leone, like these guys that are 6'3", 6'4", sometimes it takes them a long time to get up and moving. Mm-hmm. Noah Thomas was a fantastic 400-meter runner in high school. Adonis Curry gets to top end speed really quickly, which is not something that you typically see out of a kid that's got his build. So once he adds the requisite weight that it's going to take to play every down in this league, I mean, he's got a skill set that is very unique.
Mm-hmm. It makes you laugh. It makes me laugh because I've talked to Elko about it, and he says, it's funny how when he got here, everyone was like, well, Elko loves those really big, tall corners. He loves, and he's like, no, that's what I had here. He's like, I love corners that can cover and tackle. Like 100%. He doesn't care if it's 5'8", if Aaron Glenn was. I'm sure he would say, "Sign me up for that guy." Yesterday, Ray Mickens, but he's like, but when they can do both, when you can get the guys that can cover and tackle, and can be 6'3" and rangy, that's when you've got someone that you look at and you go, man. As a coach, you go, I can turn that guy into a star in this league. Mm-hmm. He's got the athletic and physical traits to be able to do that.
The commonality amongst all of these DBs that have come in this morning, and I believe Curry's the last one to sign, but you look at Adonis Curry, you look at Jamar Bill Goins, you look at Tom Johnson, you look at Dejon Petaway, they can all really run. Dejon Petaway can fly. And while we're on the subject now, we know how important that nickelback spot is. This was a kid in Dejon Petaway that you felt like you had to get at the onset of this recruiting cycle for a couple of reasons. He's at Katy Pato, where he plays for DJ Hicks' dad. His older brother's Damian Sanford.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And you fought some real battles, especially with Georgia early on before the kid decided, I'm going to go where my brother's at. And all he's done, Dejon Petaway has played at corner, he's played at safety, and he's played at nickel, and he's going to play nickel here. And we know how impactful that spot, how important it is in Mike Elko's defense.
Well, you saw
he's not had a guy with this skill set that can run like this in that nickel spot since he's been at A&M. Antonio Johnson, different type of player. He can't run like Dejan Petaway.
Yeah. Well, and you saw how important that was when this team lost, and I mentioned him. I mentioned him a few minutes ago. When they lost Tyreek Chappelle, they were so excited about him making before when they got here. It's like, all right, who's going to be the nickel? And Elko felt right away that Bryce Anderson is not a true nickel; he's safety. I've heard people around here go, "Oh, he was a game changer at nickel last year." No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Bryce is fine, but it wasn't like he wasn't changing games at the nickel spot. And that's what you'd love to see Elko have, is a guy that can just shut down things there. And Chappelle ended up being and they were so hopeful that they could leave him there, that other guys would develop and emerge at corner, so they could leave him there at nickel. And then, prior to Game 3, prior to the Florida game, I believe it was either prior to Florida or prior to Arkansas, but right in there, or prior to Florida or prior to Bowling Green. I think it was prior to Florida because they had a bunch of in-week injuries. He tears his ACL.
Yeah. Well, and you and I talked about this in the Auburn game. I don't think a lot of people noticed it. I did, because I know the importance of a lockdown type DB that just gives a defensive coordinator so much confidence, and it opens the playbook for him. If you got guys out there that you feel like can expose you, and you don't have time to cover a receiver for 2-3 seconds to bring dynamic type of pressures and blitzes, it changes the game. And in Auburn, we lost Will Lee early on, and we lost Jaden Hill.
Yeah.
And so you saw guys out there in a critical game that haven't played a ton this year. And so upgrading the speed, Bronny, like you said, in the secondary is such a big deal, because there's so many freaking explosive receivers.
Well, one of the things, too, that with Dejan Petaway, his growth, like as a tackler, is one of the traits that stands out to me the most as a kid. I've seen play a lot, where you saw him as a sophomore, where he was kind of timid. He was your typical high school corner, right? They move him to safety as a junior. Like, man, that's getting better. Like his willingness to go run the alley and hit people. And then as a senior, like the confidence went to another level. This kid can really tackle. Like at that spot, I think he actually reminds me, you brought up Tyreek Chappelle. It's a very similar skill set. Yeah. Very, very similar.
That's big.
One of the guys I'm particularly excited about actually is Tom Johnson. And I felt like that commitment just kind of slid through.
Well, so remember how it happened?
Yeah, well, it was in the wake of losing a couple of, McNutt, and you lose one to Oregon, you lose one to Texas, and they were the two 5-star, highest profile. And then all of a sudden, somewhere in the mix of that, I'm not sure, I'm not exact on my timeline, but then all of a sudden, that came out of nowhere, right? Like that was the one.
That was the morning of the McNeese game.
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
I remember y'all talking about that.
And anyway, you go watch his tape.
Oh, dude.
And that's an SEC
physical.
Yeah, that is an SEC safety. That's an SEC DB that will.
How many of these guys?
You need dudes that can tackle, man. Missed tackles. You mentioned it earlier, Brandon. I mean, we know it because we saw it against. It cost you the game directly against South Carolina. But in this league, against these receivers that you talked about and these playmakers, man, if you miss a tackle, we saw it Saturday night. You miss one tackle on a guy turns his back, makes a cut, you're giving up 15 more yards. Absolutely. It changes field position just like that. Yes. And that's on the low end of damage.
This safety tape is incredible.
It is.
You see immediately why Kirby Smart had him committed. Yep. And I talked to a guy in the state of Florida yesterday, and he was saying that there was a lot of Florida and Florida State fans going, what on earth are these schools doing, letting this kid go out of state? Like, this is exceptional safety tape.
100%.
He could impact games early in his career, especially on special teams, because we know what the room looks like. It's going to be hard to break a rotation with what they've got coming back. But you talk about, like, Miles Davis this year started making real impacts on special teams.
Yeah.
This could be a guy that does that and then finds his way on the field.
100%. Yeah.
Hey, a few minutes ago, Noah McKell did sign, so that became official now. So another one to add to the list.
Tackling machine.
California guys are waking up.
Yeah.
They're having their coffee.
This might be the top defensive player in the state of California. He put together a just wildly productive senior season. He played running back. He played tight end. He played linebacker. This dude is a monster.
Oregon wanted him bad.
Yeah, I was about to say, wasn't Oregon trying to get on him?
They wanted him in the beginning. They wanted him later.
Big deal to get him across the finish line. especially with the season Oregon's had.
And you look at the number 6'3", 225. This is a big kid. He can run, and you have to have traits as a linebacker. You have to have You have to have certain traits that translate to this level of football, no matter what the position, right, Leone?
Mm-hmm.
But for a linebacker, don't sign a linebacker that don't get his name called on Friday nights.
Yeah, 100%.
Torian York was limited in some of the stuff that he could do physically, but every Friday night at Temple, Texas, his name was called 100 times.
Yeah.
Same thing with Noah McHale. This kid, 6'3", 225 pounds, can run like that and has over 100 tackles this year.
And every year, 22 and 23 had over 100 tackles too. And one of the things, if you watch this tape, you guys do such a good job of getting good footage of these guys. Watch his eyes when he drops in zone. I mean, look at him pull the trigger right there. I think one of our weaknesses at linebacker play in the last few years, and why these last 3 SEC games made me nervous, all 3 of the coaches we just played against do a phenomenal job of misdirection, play action. It's our eye discipline. And one of the things that stood out to me is watching him when he drops in zone. He reads the quarterback well, and then once he pulls that trigger, Barney, like you said, he gets there quick and makes a sound tackle. That's huge at the linebacker position because there's a ton of great tight ends again in the SEC as well.
This is a fantastic player.
Mm-hmm.
He really is. And maybe we don't talk about him enough, Billy, because he's out there on the West Coast.
I was saying when you were gone, we don't talk enough about a lot of these guys because they committed and they didn't waver. And they've been committed for a while. That's why today's pretty, even though it's going to be fairly uneventful, the last few days have been very eventful. Signing day itself is going to be pretty uneventful, but there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to kind of catch up on.
We got catching up to do. Yeah,
How big of a deal is it, though, what you just said? Today's going to be uneventful.
Yeah.
To hold on to guys in today's day and age for that long of a period of time, I think shows better recruiting than the end of the year scoops like we got with Rodgers. I mean, those are awesome and those are fun to see, and it gets the fans excited. But to maintain a player of that caliber all year long with all the different things coaches have to navigate, now that's impressive to me.
And to be honest, with a lot of these coups, quarterback became a thing only a couple weeks ago, so that was impressive that they were able to recover like that. But like guys like Morrow and Rodgers, those weren't surprises. Those were guys that A&M, that work, just like with these signees, had been done throughout the process for weeks and months back. So, yeah, they were certainly out in front, had things very well in hand over the last, down the recruiting stretch, let's say. So, yeah, Noah too. Here's the other thing I'll say about they need to. We were impressed this year with the linebacker position on the field, how much improvement they made from last year to this year, for the last couple of years to this year.
With no Edge Cooper.
With no Edge Cooper. It was a position of concern going into the season. But I still say that is a spot where if you look around the league and you look like they have to get a lot better in terms of depth and options. And I thought losing Scooby against Texas really, really hurt.
It hurt bad.
And you want to be in a position where you can navigate that even a little better. And then also, by the way, you want a damn All-American at linebacker. It was nice to have Edgerrin Cooper there. It'd been a minute since we've had like a true All-American caliber linebacker, and so you want to keep taking swings. Man, when you watch that dude on tape, you go, okay, I could see it.
Well, we got another one that just signed.
You said.
Another guy just like that, 6'5", Marco Jones from Danville, California. He just signed a moment ago as well.
Obviously Mike Elko, Jay Bateman doing cartwheels, but Mike Early has a little eye on this one. This kid's also an elite baseball prospect in the batter's box, but they signed him.
I don't know if it was earlier, whoever said Giancarlo Stanton.
He's got power. He's got the power's pretty crazy, but he's going to start his career on the football field, and that will be where he devotes most of his time. We'll see if the baseball thing becomes an option, but a terror off the edge.
Yep.
I mean, this is that stand-up edge rushing position that Mike Elko has done so much with. And you look at a guy, and I went back and looked at Tyree Johnson, how he was rated in high school. Very similarly, he was out of Maryland. Marco Jones is bigger and faster than Tyree Johnson maybe ever was in his career at Texas A&M. And when you turn this tape on, I mean, he's playing stand-up off the ball in some of it. A lot of it, he's standing up off the edge. Leone, there is major juice here.
I mean, yeah, I'm watching the tape. I mean, it looks like he's playing a lot of middle linebacker and high balling interceptions, taking them back to the house. So you're saying this guy's going to play on the edge for us?
Yes.
Probably. Think of
Look, here it is, right here.
look.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Speed.
Give me
Marco, and what that dude, and we saw some of it Saturday night, unfortunately. To have a guy like that get his hands on in today's college football, tight ends that want to be out there catching passes and stuff, he's going to kick some people's asses on the edge. And like you said, Bronny, he's probably bigger than Tyree was as a fourth-year guy.
Runs, man. Like, again, it's another common trait.
Yep.
This kid can absolutely run in space. You see him playing some inside receiver at times. Phenomenal athlete. And I will tell you this, too. Another kid that when I spoke to, I came away glowing in terms of the impression he left on me. Really smart, cerebral, well-spoken young man. Very humble. Another great addition to not only the field, but also the locker room.
Yeah, well, and two, think about this. You talk about how much he can run. Think about how often you saw Cassius Howell and Mount Kennedy dropping out, and all these different blitz packages, these organic blitzes that we bring, having those guys like that can get out in space. I can't remember what game it was, or Cassius Howell, might have been Arkansas, where he dropped back off the end position.
Almost had a pick six.
Yeah, he almost had a pick six and got some deflections 25 yards downfield. So having those type of dynamic athletes off the edge is critical. But yeah, this dude's tape is crazy.
All right, when we come back on TexAgs Live, Brian Randall, the Richmond Randall head coach who coached Chase Sims, he'll be on the program. We'll chit-chat with him. We'll continue breaking down all of these signings here on our TexAgs Live Signing Day show. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. That's where we bought our Tahoe a couple years ago. The customer service was great. The pricing was great. The trade-in value we got for our older car was fantastic. That's what you can expect when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni, complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers, and free oil changes for life on your purchase as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They are the place to go when you're looking for a vehicle in the Brazos Valley, and even if you're not in the area, take a look. Start online, and I think you're going to be very happy. It's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Welcome back into TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is our number 2 of the program. Breakfast this morning provided by our good friends at Costa Vida. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we're going to find Brian Randall, the Richmond Randall head coach, who coached Coach Chase Sims. Coach, how are you, sir? I think we're having some issues with Brian broadcasting. Are you there, Coach?
Hello?
Hey, Coach Randall. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm well. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful. So how's today for you? Obviously, you got star players all around your team, signing places. What's just today like for you?
It's a little different. This early signing and December thing is a little different. Normally, we like to do it all together in February, but you know how it is. Times change.
Coach, your experience with Chase Sims, just take me back, and we spoke a lot whenever you guys came up here and played in Bryan, but just kind of take me through your history with Chase, and when did you realize that you had one of these types of players on your hands?
Chase's sophomore year is when we really realized that how much potential he truly had, because he really started taking a leadership role. I mean, we opened the school brand new. He was a freshman playing on JV. Young kid getting after it, but after a good off season, it's just a sophomore year, like just a switch turned on, and he was a different kid.
Yeah, and I think too, he keeps turning these switches on. Where have you seen him make the biggest strides in his game since he started with you as a sophomore?
Well, you can play him all over. We've played him at defensive end. We play him at the 3. We play him at the shade. We kind of put him everywhere. And his pass rushing ability, he's always been a run stopper. I mean, he could always stop the run when he was a sophomore, but he's really his pass rushing ability in his hands, his technique with his hands, his attention to detail is what's really impressive.
Yeah, you often don't see defensive linemen. He's pretty far along in terms of his technique and proficiency in that. Is there an area of his game where you are excited to see him in college, take the next step? Like, where is something where you're like, okay, like in 2 years, I think Chase is going to really excel in this area where he may be lacking in it right now?
Honestly, he's not really lacking in much. Once he gets up there and y'all get him in that weight room and he puts on that weight and becomes a little more explosive, like the kid's gonna be a problem. He's gonna play football as long as he wants to.
A&M fans they'll like to hear that. And Coach, as you guys have navigated now, back-to-back years in the playoffs and getting ready for a big game this Saturday at NRG Stadium, what can you tell us about Chase Sims in terms of his leadership amongst your group and in your locker room?
He means the world to us in the sense that he's I'm not going to say he's the most vocal guy, but he just leads by example. Like he plays through injuries. He doesn't cry. He doesn't complain. He always shows up to work. He's got that blue collar mentality, and that's what you gotta love. I mean, he comes from great parents. Dad's a police officer. I forgot what mom does, but she's great parenting there. So, and she doesn't play. Like mom's pretty much the backbone. And I know he was kind of banged up the week before last, and she said, "Oh, coach, he's gonna play. He's gonna." Like mom made that decision. Oh, he's playing. Because it was a big game. We had to get over that hump against Brenham, and we were trying to figure out whether we sit him another week. And Mom said, "No, he's playing, coach. Don't worry about it. He's playing." So when you got parents like that pushing you, like you can't help but be successful. And he really is a great kid, man.
Yep, Coach. I will see you on Saturday at NRG, man. Good luck.
Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Brian Randall there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Appreciate his time here breaking down Chase Sims and guys.
Getting ready for a state semifinal. Quarterfinal. State quarterfinal.
They're a newer school?
I think only 4 years old.
Yeah.
The school is actually named after his dad, Coach Randall's dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really
Isn't that
cool.
crazy?
I know. He's a Coach Randall product of A-Leaf.
Yeah. Hastings, you were telling me, right?
Yeah. He was at Hastings for a while. I don't know where he went to high school.
Okay. I've talked to him before when I was at the old place. Hey, before we do hit a break, we're actually up against it. Just kind of you break down Chase Sims' game.
Yeah, everything Coach said is absolutely true. When you go watch him play live, the power and the quickness really jump out, and the speed to power, short area, the ability to generate leverage, and the production, man. Like again, this is a highly productive kid. He gets a bunch of sacks. He gets a bunch of tackles. You're not having to do a lot of dreaming about what his effort level is going to be like or whether he can make plays down the line of scrimmage because he shows you.
Yeah.
He's had a phenomenal season.
Billy, he kind of fits the mold of what you were talking about, like bigger bodied dude.
Well, I mean, they've had some big bodies right in here, but he reminds me, he's a longer arm guy. But I mean, like when you were talking to those things you were just saying, like that to me is why Texas A&M should have signed Byron Murphy a few years ago. Like you saw it on tape. You were evaluating Shamar Turner at DeSoto. You saw it like it was really explosive, really quick twitch for a guy his size, and the effort. Now I think Randall athletically, I mean they're different dudes, but when you got a guy in the trenches that plays that hard and is that explosive, twitchy, can change direction for his size, the acceleration when he's chasing, he got long arms there. Like I think there's a reason. Was he as high a riser as anyone in the state from like say midsummer till signing day?
You can make an argument that this is the best senior tape of the class. Like the best senior season of anybody that they signed. You can make a real argument for
You know who he reminds me of a little bit is Albert Regis in the middle. You know, I don't know how from a frame standpoint, but just also too, Texas was in on him towards the very end or trying to be in on him, just like Albert, you know, and we didn't talk about Albert a ton when we first signed him, but I think we all saw the potential and the upside. This guy's got all the potential upside in the world, and you got a guy that's playing in the middle of the 3 technique that's getting 80-plus tackles. I mean, that's showing you the motor and the ability he has to get to the football even in the trenches. That's a big deal.
He's a monster, man. He just flat out gets after it. He's going to be very, very you put him in a weight room. I mean, I didn't play day one, but you get him in a college weight room, and that dude's going to be, I mean, of all the guys, if I said, like, of the guys they signed, who's the hardest dude to block? It might be him, but here's the deal. Him, DJ Sanders. The good news is you have to debate this, but him, DJ Sanders, Marco Jones, up there, in the trenches. Look, I know the one spot we felt great about this year on this football team was defensive line and how A&M matched up. They lost the line of scrimmage against South Carolina and against Texas. I wouldn't say quite so much against Auburn. That was kind of a, depending on what point of the game you were talking about. But they lost probably both lines of scrimmage in those losses to South Carolina and Texas. And look, they didn't play Georgia. They didn't play Ole Miss. They didn't play Tennessee. Those are teams that really could have exposed that as well had you played them. They've got to keep getting better. And I know we're like, okay, man, there's just so much talent on the D-line, and there was. And you'd love to bring at least one of those guys back. And I'm talking about the 3. Shamar Turner's going. He's a senior. But like out of Scorton and Stewart. But you just have to keep getting better up there. And people that are naive enough to think that, oh, this will be the most talent they've had on the D-line, that's not true. And this class will have a say in that at moving forward. And they'll obviously attack the portal some this year as well, depending on who leaves versus who they can get back. But you've got to keep going along the defensive front and have physical dudes that can physically whip your ass at the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what those 3 guys in particular that I just mentioned can do when you watch them on tape.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with more. Right now, we're talking about sponsorship and vendor opportunities through the Association of Former Students. If your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, then you need to reach out to the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking about Aggie Muster, all Aggie Hullabaloo gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees. All of these events offer a wide variety of both in-person and digital options to promote your brand, including title, sponsorship naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition, social media posts, and much, much more. Plus, there's advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Everyone, David Nuno here in a moment right now for Snaps Clothing. They are the makers of the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snap shirts. I'm wearing it right now. This is part of their Tailgater collection. It's built for game day. My friend Edgar over there is doing great work. You've got to check out the clothing. It's the Pearl Snaps. It's the cool look. It's kind of hip, but also Western. You'll love it, and they have great stuff there. They'll keep you comfortable as you're repping your Aggie gear, and it's the place to go to get it. Whether you're watching the game from home or tailgating before watching the stands, these shirts have you covered. Head to snapsclothing.com. That is snapsclothing.com to gear up for the season. And we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio, our National Signing Day show. I see that there's over almost 1,000 people watching on YouTube. The fake stat is only 24% of you have subscribed to the channel, so please do so. Like it and comment on it, please. And we said that we were going to talk DJ Sanders earlier, and we kind of got sidetracked. So let's get to it when it comes to.
Well, we want to finish out the whole D-line.
Okay, let's finish out the whole
settle
D-line.
in. We've talked Marco Jones, even though you edged. You know,
Well, I'd like to get Leone does his research. Let's start over there. Leone, DJ Sanders, what you got?
I mean, you and I talked about him earlier this year, and you talked about how the Jasper coaching staff spoke so highly of him.
It's Belleville.
Oh, Belleville. I'm sorry.
We'll get to the Jasper guy in a minute.
I thought they played.
I confused that one. Yeah, this dude here is the big boy that chased. That's the clip you showed me him chasing the kid down.
Yeah.
6'4", 300. Again, you see those numbers at tackle. 72 tackles coming from the trenches is impressive. It don't matter what level you're at. But look, strip sack or a strip fumble for a touchdown. He's super athletic. You see they got him at the 3 technique. They put him on the outside.
God, just him.
Driving the center off the ball, smashing the quarterback. I mean, he's aggressive. He's big. He's one of these kids, Billy, you talked about getting in the way. Look at that. I mean, sideline to sideline at a guy that big, setting the edge, which we need more of that.
This is the craziest one.
Is this the one? I think
watch him strip this guy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pick your pocket.
Dude,
now watch him run at 300
60
pounds.
yards.
So just cruising.
That's crazy.
A real 300, and he is not, when you see him, he's not like
that.
This chiseled, like he is just country strong, explosive, athletic for a guy like it. And he just, when he like puts it all together in a college weight room under Moffitt, like this is going to be wild.
Think about my boy Big Red from Jasper.
Yeah.
He came in looking just like this. Was a big old boy. Had a lot of potential. Everybody thought he was a package deal coming with Jory.
Yeah.
A year in the weight room, redshirt freshman, he's a captain, and he's all Big 12. And then he goes and plays in the league for 10 years. I mean, guys that can move like that, Bronny, like you've talked about so much, that are that big, when they get into a weight program like this, I think, look at that. I mean, just running through the block, the kids are scared of him.
They are scared of him.
They're scared of him. You see how he's running away from him?
I've said for a while that I was in on DJ Sanders when I went to saw him play as a sophomore against LaGrange, and I just started seeing a kid that big do agility drills before the game.
That's what you told me.
And I'm like, God, like you don't see guys that are built that way with loose, flexible hips, the bounce. He walks on his toes for such a big kid. Yeah, he may not be the defensive lineman that plays the first of this group, but he may be the defensive lineman that plays the longest.
100%. Well, and again, how often we move our guys around on the line of scrimmage, the ability to line up out wide, to get in the middle. Look at it, just blowing the tight end up off the end. Getting his hands out in front of him, pad level, pretty good. This guy, man, in a year, I think he's going to be someone we talk about.
He looks like he looks heavy-handed and really strong when he grabs. You see him slinging guys around. That's an underrated thing. Like, what do you have from here to here?
Yeah,
in the it's O-line and D-line. Like what Nuno, this, you and your weightlifting buddies, like
range of
it's
motion,
like that grip strength, that how do you pop when you hit and you watch him, and he's got all that, and like I said, he just looks like he's out there playing football, and you get him in a weight room like this, and I think he's gonna be
some technique work.
I don't know how strong
now. You want to talk about, so you see play strength there. You want to talk about weight room strength and it translating to play strength. Let's talk about Landon Rank at Sci-Fair. Billy went through his list of guys in this class that would be hardest to block. Right now, it might be Landon Rank.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid plays, it's like a souped up version of Spencer Neely. And the only reason I say that is because they both play like wild men. I mean, Landon Rank runs his tail off in games, but Landon Rank is so much further along, athletically gifted. No offense, Neely, but this kid's on another level. He's got weight room records at Sci-Fair in the bench press, squat, and power clean.
Jeez.
And obviously comes from football lineage. Dad was a great player at Texas. He's been around it. His dad was his defensive line coach and defensive coordinator there at Sci-Fair. This tape's a lot of fun to watch. And by the way, Leone, when you start watching his tape, look at some of the opposition he's playing against. There's real plays against, here's Katy. There's a bunch of plays in there against North Shore.
2 blocks you got
so
on there.
He is doing this against the best in the city of Houston, and his short area quickness and power is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and you've talked about him to me a lot, about how hard he is to block, about his motor, how strong he is, and he's one of the more active kids on Twitter, and so you can tell he's fired. Look at that. I mean, coming off the backside, we saw that, unfortunately, this Saturday.
Yeah.
How important that is, to get flat behind the line. Look at that, just driving that guy off the ball. Bill, you talked about handwork a second ago. Push that dude off completely, and
that's where his technical ability
that's what I'm saying.
right
that
now.
Goes to show the strength you talked about.
Yeah, the mechanics he plays with right now. That leads me to believe, Billy, that all the guys they signed defensive line, he's going to come in the furthest ahead, right? Because he's so technically proficient.
And powerful, like you mentioned, the weight room stuff, but also explosive, that burst, and you mentioned the power clean. Leone, by the way, quite the power cleaner.
Hey, come on now.
Mal still?
They took the records down, I believe, but
He
it
was
was
on the record.
He was a Night of Champions guy.
It was
big
396.5.
Night of Champions guy.
You and Aldo.
Horrible.
Who was the guy?
Yeah.
Who was the guy? Who was the guy in the Wolverine boots that would go out there?
John Kirk.
Yeah, it was John Kirk.
He's actually doing really well.
Yeah, it was a John. Was that John? But it was a different.
It was
John
a walk
Kirk.
on John Kirk.
It wasn't the guy that played John Kirk.
He was like real stout, but Night of Champions is funny, bro. You're getting ready to go power clean in front of 3,000 people, and they break that ammonia in front of you, and you're like, oh, you just jolted and break it. But anyways, yeah,
that was a cool idea, but in hindsight, you can really make fun of it now.
You can for sure.
Not your power clean.
If you're about to max though, yeah, the power clean.
I think they were going to kill Archie McDaniel one night. We were sitting up in the stands, it was a couple baseball guys, and we were like, they're going to kill him. Like he kept trying to get a power clean and wasn't coming close. It looked like he was breaking both of his knees and
thought his wrists were going to
snap. But he kept wanting to do it, and they kept cranking up. It was right when 50 Cent came out in the club.
They played that 7,000 times.
Go, and he keeps failing on it. It's not his fault, but I'm like, they got to stop the guy. They're going to kill him.
Yep.
But Nuno, what?
I was just saying, it sparked a memory when he said Aldo. Aldo De La Garza is a part of the jiu-jitsu community.
He's also shredded now, like Yimmy. He doesn't look like the same dude.
How do you know of this?
I did a story on him when I worked at ABC 40. We went to his home gym where he was practicing his martial arts, and it just sparked I'm a part of his community now, and the hunting community that we're both a part of.
Do you think Aldo De La Garza would touch a glazed donut to go get it and hand it to his friend?
Oh, is that how you're going to work in your
waited
joke?
on it. He waited on it.
That is crazy that you wait till the end of the segment.
I didn't know how to work it in. That was my only window. Leone said, do you guys want anything? And Brandon goes, could I have one of those glazed donuts? And he goes, well, I'm not going to touch it. And I thought he was joking. And then all of a sudden, Callie comes in and says, Brandon, what kind of donut did you want? And I'm like, he really went and had someone else do it.
There's a couple of reasons for that. First off, you guys will take videos and post it and do the little Snapchat stuff, and that was part of it. The other part was I didn't want to put my hands on it. I didn't know if we had napkins out there. Did not know.
Kelshawn Johnson in.
Kelshawn Johnson officially signs.
Hitchcock. Another Matt Schobel has signed off on 3 of the A&M signees, which is really saying something considering what
and I think that's it.
Unabashed hater guy is.
I think that's it, and we're waiting on Fasusi, but Nick can probably tell you, but I do think that's it.
Let me say something on Landon
Eli
Rink.
Morcos hasn't signed.
Who?
Eli.
Yeah.
Okay. Say something about Landon Rink real quick.
Landon Rink.
For those of you that are like older, his dad was also a badass and was a teammate of Sam Adams. Shane Rink and Sam Adams were at Cypress Creek, just destroying anyone in Houston that tried to block that defense. And Rink went to Texas, and Sam came to A&M. But he was an incredible high school and good college player too. And then I think also coaches his son, if I'm correct, right, Bronny?
That's what Bronny said.
That's where the technical side comes in. But what's with y'all on these stupid faces? We're not on The Office. We're doing a damn radio show. I'm not sitting here with Jim Halpert and Toby.
Why did I get in the middle of this?
And Toby.
What am I getting Toby? I didn't do a face.
No. Jim Halpert.
I'm glad that you didn't just call you Oscar. Though.
He said, that would have been strong.
Doug Lewis.
That was good, bro.
Texas Aggie class of 2004. 4th generation own and operate Lewis Engineering. You guys. Machine shop located in Marshall, Texas. They want to be your premier metal fabrication supplier. They've been doing this for a long time. They've supplied the Defense Department, aerospace industry, automotive, oil field industries with quality metal components, and they specialize in that high volume production. So whatever widget you need done, they can do it, and they can do it in a high level. They invite you to outsource your machining to a company that many Fortune 500 companies have trusted over the last 63 years. Call Doug for a quote right now, 903-938-6754. That is 903-938-6754, or visit them online at lewisengineeringco.com. As a reminder, the final segment of the show is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's in about an hour. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. All right, we got about 40 seconds left. Nick, who was the last one that signed? You were telling me at the break? Kelshawn Johnson. So on the other side of this, we will talk about Kelshawn Johnson. We got a lot more to get into over the last hour of the program. Leone's going to stick around for a little bit longer. If you want to be a part of the conversation, tell us your thoughts on exactly what's happening with signing day. You can do it multiple ways. You can do it on the text line 979-693-1150, or do it on our YouTube or TexAgs chat, youtube.com/TexAgs or TexAgs.com. Go to the live function. You can see the chat there. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with all that, and we will also have a guest at 10:20. That guest is, Bronny, Kelvion Riggins. All right, you're texting. We'll do that. This is called tap dancing to make sure you hit the break at the right time. It's TexAgs Live. And we are back. It is TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is our National Signing Day show special, and breakfast this morning provided by Costa Vida. So I do like that look too.
I do.
The far look. It looks like a professional show. Yeah.
It does. It's like they're coming in like,
yeah.
Here we go.
Did you see the start of the show?
No.
Nick had me over there, like Fox News, like breaking down
Did you walk?
America.
Oh.
Yeah, like and this
like
guy
the
signed
election.
it. Yeah,
like,
just
now,
like
if you
that.
just do this here, and if you track the trends from 2020, 2016 and 2020, was that you?
That was me. And then, well, actually, I just read the name.
Can I do the weather from there one day?
Yeah, you sure can.
That'd be awesome.
Like right now, it's raining outside.
Yeah, well, I think I want to keep it to the pass catchers in this segment. And as we mentioned, Kelshawn Johnson signed earlier, and we never really got to break that down. Let's just talk about the group in general, but start off with Kelshawn, Bronny.
Yeah, super shifty. As a kid, that even at 5'10", 170 pounds, that drew a lot of attention from A&M's biggest recruiting rivals, most notably Texas. Actually, hearing Arkansas made a late run today, but he ultimately chose A&M when he made his decision over Texas, Penn State, and USC. In space, Leone, this kid is a nightmare, and it's like Ainias Smith shiftiness with better top end. He gets to top end better, and there's some real toughness to his game as well. Has been incredibly productive as a receiver and a returner for a really talented Hitchcock team the last 2 years.
Yeah, again, I think the glaring weakness is if you try to look at the 2024 season or these receivers and these skill playmakers on offense that can stretch the field, get on top of the defense. If you look at a few clips from now when he's releasing a press coverage, call it stacking the roof, right? He gets on top of the DB, gets the DB out of position. So one, it's impressive that he has such good releases at his age coming out of high school. But two, it shows that he understands, it's not just about getting behind the DB. Obviously, that's important, but putting yourself in position where if the throw is right there, that the DB can't make it. And so I think this guy has a bright future. Even that first play he made where he split 3 DBs, to go for a touchdown. But
that's something you see on the highlight tape often is in traffic, out of traffic, in the snap of a fingers because of that short area quickness and burst.
It's the short area quickness. It's also the ability to see it and see and understand what's going to close up, what's not going to close up, where when you can split those defenders and take that shot. And he has a great feel after he catches the football of where he needs to go to find those openings and his timing. All of that it's like defenders that you look for that when they're tackling in space, and he's got just tremendous feel. And I think it's an underrated part of football, college football teams, and I've seen it lacking here some. Really since A&M's joined the SEC is where you've seen it. And I've heard various coaches come in, when they've gotten here and say, man, that it's not the most like instinctive group, just basic football IQ type stuff. So a lot of these guys, you just see it. It's that feel. You talked about, who was it? It was Noah McHale. Like guys like that, and I see it on the offensive side of the ball here with Johnson. He feels it. You talk about those screen plays you could run with this guy. Certain guys get it and understand it, Brandon. Like around the time you were playing, I was like, I hate that every team in college football that plays against A&M runs a wide receiver or bubble screen, and everyone can just eat up yards with it, even the lesser teams. And we can't execute it for crap. I felt like that for years. Then around the time you were here, they started getting real receivers and figuring that out. And then Kevin Sumlin came in. They started doing it. But this is a kind of weapon you could use for that and to get down the field. And you watch him play, and you see why Steve Sarkisian wanted him in that offense. You see why, like, what an Ole Miss could do with him. And the more you get those weapons, the more Colin Klein can be willing and amenable to doing that with these guys.
Well, how many times did you hear in post-game press conferences this year from Elko, and even the few times that Klein was on the podium, receivers getting to where they need to get, understanding the offense, timing, throwing off the quarterbacks, and I think what Jim Turner, was breaking down one of the interceptions from Marcel against Auburn, and that DB, pulled the tight end a little bit, Watson, whichever one it was, and it slowed him down from getting to a spot. So a lot of times these good quarterbacks are throwing a ball to a spot, and if the receiver's not there, they're not getting the depth they need to, or in the right spot, or in the zone, it affects the gameplay significantly. And so guys like Kelshawn Johnson that can get to a spot, that understand and have a feel for playing the receiver position, are really, really critical when you get out of high school and it becomes a lot more about scheme.
Well, when you talk about top-end speed and the necessity to stretch the defense, obviously Jerome Miles, total package kind of player. TK Norman out of Alabama was a kid that when they took him, like we were going, okay, like Alabama kid, we don't know a lot about him. We start watching tape, and then you really take a look at what he did as a senior there at Carver High School in Montgomery. The top end, like stretch the field speed, that's what A&M saw. And there was a ton of go balls down the seam, outside, post routes. Like this is a stretch the field type of player. And Jason got some texts from guys that he's known in the industry just for so long. Like, hey, A&M got a real steal with this kid. Like he was kind of under-recruited in Central Alabama. He didn't get a huge press from Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. The Aggies went out over Auburn, Arkansas, Georgia Tech. But you like him because he's so like kind of angular and long, and then has that separating speed down the field. He's a great contested ball catcher. So there's a lot to like here. And you're hopefully that your receiver room gets to a point where you don't have to have these guys come in and make an immediate impact. But, man, just look at him and take the top off.
Yep. And high point the ball, too, when it gets there.
Yeah, he's like I think he's listed at 6'6". But when you look at his features, broad shoulders, long arms, seems like he's got like a high hip kid. He presents bigger than 6 foot, 6'1".
Yeah. That's a big deal, man. There's nothing that this team needs more than the ability to break the game open at the receiver position consistently.
I feel like Kelshawn also looks bigger than 5'10". There's something about his presence.
See, when I see Kelshawn, I actually watch him play. You think he's little, like more like an Anais type.
But he looks bigger than Anais to me.
He is. But like the way he plays, he's such compact movements. These are big, long movements from TK Norman.
Yeah.
Like long strides, right? Big high point. Kelshawn wants to play in the phone booth. And so I think they present differently, even though stature-wise they may be similar.
Well, I think you take those guys in Miles, and you're kind of checking off a lot of boxes in terms of versatility within your receiving core. And I think you need that. You need those different type weapons. We looked this year how much, when at that slot, when you were going when you were playing without Jabri Barber, and we're sitting there going, man, that's the guy you need. You need that burst. You need to see them get him back. And then he came back and he had an impact because they didn't have anybody really like him to do what he was doing. So you have to kind of have a little bit of everything. And I think this class actually has it. I'm with you. TK Norman is a guy that, quite frankly, I haven't thought much about since he committed, and you watch his senior tape and you go, oh yeah, they got that guy too. And it's really nice tape from when you watch him. It's really nice tape.
We haven't had a chance to talk Kiadi Armstrong, Bronny. How do you envision his role?
He's going to, me, because of the raw athletic traits, he's going to stick at tight end at least to start his career here. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's the long term, what he does. There's rawness to his game, and we haven't seen him put his hand on the ground and become like a real blocker yet. Just not what they needed him to do at Jasper. They actually lined him up at outside receiver a lot toward the end of the year. Threw him go balls, threw him a lot of tunnel screens. But you talk about first off the bus and then win a combine. I mean, Leone, whenever A&M started recruiting this kid, I believe I told you. You remember Jory Adams?
Yeah.
Here he is, another one from Jasper, just off the charts, freak show athlete here.
Yeah, I mean, and the one thing I'll say about this guy versus Jory is Jory was pretty obvious that he was going to end up having his hand in the dirt. We kind of all knew he was going to eventually, or he should have developed into a tackle.
Yeah.
This guy looks kind of like Ricky Seals, where you can split him out wide and leverage his size and his speed combination to create mismatches. Because, man, that's really what it's all about, is creating mismatches on the outside, really everywhere. But this kid, man, look how much he can run for how big he is.
He's 6 foot, almost 6'7", 265 pounds.
He's that
Billy.
tall, huh?
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
Enormous hands. But look at just the fluidity of him moving, and as a runner, it's a rare combination of stature, size, strength, and overall
screen?
speed.
They just ran a screen to him?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's the stuff I'm talking about.
Anything short of that guy being 300 pounds, you get the football in his hands
100%.
and you let and look, if he's going to be a tight end, you teach him how to maul people.
Correct.
But like that's what the good coaches will do, because this guy, you can tell by the way he plays that he works hard. Like you can tell by the way he runs after the catch, by what he's doing. Like you've got to look at that.
It's like he posted him up.
You got to teach him how to get it.
Yeah.
You got to teach him how to block. He could maul people.
Look at him getting in the field, dude. That's crazy.
You line him up even as an inside receiver and let him crack down on outside linebacker. He could just engulf smaller defenders in the blocking game, the run game. You get him willing and adept at that to go with what he's showing you on tape in terms of skill, and just what an absolute nightmare he can be.
You can't imagine. I mean, he's got areas of the game that he's gonna have to be more structured.
Yeah.
He has to learn technique, how to block, the intensity of blocking down to down in the line of scrimmage. But if you're gonna pick a kid to work on that stuff with, this is the prototype.
Yep.
Yeah. No question.
Again, we're going to do our class superlatives a little bit later this weekend, and I could fill Keati Armstrong in for about 3 or 4 of them
100%.
because he's just a rare blend of athlete.
Potential. I mean, you think about this, man. I love tight ends like this because I think about Bill Belichick and the runs he used to make in New England. And, man, so much of it was built around these tight ends that create mismatches, dude. You know, Gronkowski, Martellus, even Aaron Hernandez, right? I mean, he was a little bit crazy, obviously, but
a little bit, guys.
The funny thing is, didn't Ty Warren used to live in his house or buy his house?
No, he sold his house.
He sold his house. So my wife watched Dynasty with me, the Patriots documentary, and when we were talking to Ty, I was like, I'll tell you a fun fact, because she geeks out on that. I was like, Ty used to live in Aaron Hernandez's house, and she didn't say anything, and a few minutes later, she was like, that's the coolest fact you've ever told me. Because she geeked out on that Patriots documentary.
I'd stayed in that house one time, and we got there at night, and I just saw it, in that morning. Ty had sent, like, a driver was, like, taking me back to Boston, from, it's called North Attleboro. I just remember that town. And so I just walked to the car, hey, appreciate it, good to see you, whatever, and saw the house like that. And then got in the car and left. Well, a few years later, I'm watching all this stuff break out, like you're watching it on the news. And I felt like, that Leo DiCaprio gif they always show where he's like, that was me watching.
You're like, I've been there.
I called Ty. He's like, yeah, that's my house.
Yeah, no, Keati's a beast. I agree with you that he's going to be a stud. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him and how he grows, how he develops. I mean, a lot of it depends on his body.
You've got to get guys in the SEC on your roster. I don't care what position. You have to go into battle with guys that every school in the league goes, God, we don't have somebody like that. Or, God, I wish every team you're trying to beat has a couple of those guys. If you don't have any of them, you're not going to win at the highest level in this conference, and he is certainly one of those guys.
Darnell Washington at Georgia, remember him?
That's
very similar.
I couldn't think of his name, and that's what I was thinking of, because he wasn't their best tight end, but that was all due to off-field stuff. Physically and athletically, they thought he was going to be, what Brock Bowers was.
Well, I got a great segue. Leone said beast. What about Tiger? Tiger riding.
Let's go there.
Are we going there?
Go to transition to running backs as we try to get through every position here in this radio show. Reminder, we'll be back 5 to 7 tonight. Yep. I will. Billy will be with me for a little bit. Jason will as well. When you talk about production at the high school level, at the highest level of high school football, we're talking about 6A football in the state of Texas. You got to talk about DeAndre Tiger Riding out of DeSoto, and what an incredible high school program for Texas A&M over the last, 2 decades now. And Tiger has really – he's been super good throughout his high school career. He has been sensational this year as DeSoto chases another state championship. And over the last 2 or 3 weeks, his stat lines have been crazy. But, Leone, you're the running back in the room. This kid, when I talk about Tiger Riding, I say A, winning player, and B, as well-rounded as you could be for a high school running back. It's Isaiah Spiller-like to me.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that stands out, you talked about the production at the highest level at one of the most premier programs in the state of Texas. And if I'm not mistaken, did he break the career rushing record?
All-time career rushing leader for DeSoto High School.
So
over Byron Hanspard, Leone, who I know you remember.
That tells me a lot about this kid because my coach used to tell me in high school, like, a coach doesn't put the ball in a player's hand unless he trusts him. And you think about how many times they put the ball in this kid's hand over his career at, again, one of the best programs in the state at the highest level, fighting for a championship. And to me, if you watch him on tape, it's funny. I don't feel like he just jumps off the tape like maybe Jamari and Morrow does, but he produces. He runs where they ain't. You know,
he's a positive yard getter.
That's it. He gets upfield. He makes people miss. Yards after contact is huge. He's breaking tackles. He just gets what you want, which is yards. I mean, he gets ahead of the chains. He's catching it out of the backfield, getting upfield quick. See no hesitation. Cut.
That's why it reminds me of Spiller, because it's just steady.
That's exactly
You know
right.
what? Like, it's just
That's
everything. Maybe there's not a super elite trait, but everything's really good.
That's it.
It's just so well-rounded.
Well, think about Emmitt Smith. What was super elite physically about for his traits? I mean, obviously he had a great offensive line, but he had great balance. He got upfield. He knew how to score touchdowns.
Vision.
He took care of the football. Great vision. That's what this kid has, and he's produced at a high level at one of the best programs for a long time. And so it's hard to doubt that he's not going to be a contributor at the running back position in the future here.
Well, and then Jamari and Morrow is the
Yes.
other one. Unless, Billy, you have anything on Tiger?
No, I just like. I'm trying to think of how to describe what I like about him and to piggyback what y'all are saying, but I just like his body lean, the downhill, and just the
decisive.
There's some. He's a different runner, but there's some like he's more decisive than Isaiah Spiller. But there's some Isaiah Spiller in there where he's just a bigger, like, not, I wouldn't call him like this giant back or anything, but just a frame about him, makes him tough to tackle, and that the body lean, and just when he gets going north and south, he just he doesn't seem like he takes a bunch of big hits either. He's just like, there's something very subtle to his running style that I like, and I think that's why he's been able to be as productive as he's been there. And I think it's that everything you see in him, I think, translates to college. I could see him being a guy that rips, a lot of those 14 to 20-yard runs. Like he's that kind of back, but also a guy that in short yardage, you go, okay, I think this guy's going to find the hole and hit it. And I trust that he's going to do that.
All right, we're going to hit a break here. Brandon, thanks for coming in, bro.
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
you, sir.
Good to
Thank
see
you very, very much. All right,
Go lay some concrete.
Thanks, Brandon.
It's a little rainy. Bird dog time. You're part of the hunting community. Getting there.
What is this bit?
Bought a thermal last night.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a bit? We're talking about going.
He is.
I've gone once. That means I'm in the group. If you do something once, you're in that group.
I'm gonna tell you what. Whatever.
Does that apply through everything in life?
Well, I can name a few things that does apply.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll have that discussion off.
No, I don't. Yeah, we're not.
Yeah,
gonna
once you do crack, you're a crackhead.
That's
true. You're
I
making
didn't
a good
say you were an
point.
addict. I said you do crack. Folks at Bird Dog.
I'll tell you what, the Bird Dog and all this group, they're going to kick you out and exonerate. They're going to, excommunicate you because when you're in a group like that, you don't talk about it so much. You don't hear people
Fight
talking.
Club.
Yeah.
So the fact that they are advertisers, I should not talk about being in the community. I see.
No, you should talk about them. Don't make it about yourself.
I have
make it
firsthand
about Bird
experience.
Dog.
I go to the meetings. All right.
See,
I have a vote.
You're letting out too much intel.
All right, sorry. They're Aggie owned and operated. They're awesome. They make these awesome hunting opportunities for you. They'll set all of it up for you. I'm talking about personal chef, music, the actual hunt. They'll find the location for you. 5-star ranches. That's what they do. Jonathan Lusk is doing a great job with them. The website is birddogit.com. That is birddogit.com. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio, currently hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we find Kelvion Riggins to talk about the great day that it is. Kelvion, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Kelvion, I guess take us through the emotions of the day, man. This has been a long time coming for you, and one of the earliest commitments in the class, been one of the most outspoken members of the class, and now you make things official. What's it like to officially be an Aggie?
I mean, it's just awesome. It's a dream come true, and like you said, I want to be the first one, like to make an impact with this recruiting class and just be a leader.
And I asked Landon Rink this earlier, and he talked so highly of the connection that you guys have made. From your perspective, how would you describe this commit class and the close-knit nature of it?
I feel like we're the best. I feel like we're like one of the most recent best commit classes for the Aggies. And yeah, me and Landon Rink have a great connection and relationship. We played football together since we were 8 years old, and it's just crazy to be kind of like with a brother now.
One of the things that A&M really wanted to do in this recruiting cycle was kind of reignite their presence in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. You've been a key member of A&M being able to do that. What's it been like for you up there in that part of the state to see all these guys that you know so well that are going to be joining you in college now?
It's just surreal. It's so crazy. It's amazing that we're all together and we're gonna do great things together. Just build the program even higher than it is now.
And a lot of the commits that you guys have formed some of the closest bonds with were the out-of-state guys. Take me through how the relationship was formed with guys like Adonis Curry and Noah McHale and Jamar, those West Coast guys. It seems like all you Texas kids did a great job of kind of bringing them into the family as soon as you could.
Yeah, I'll say with the Cali guys, besides from Adonis, the other ones were hard to connect with because how they act. But we have a great relationship. And then I say with Jamar, he's a chill vibe, and he just inviting people around him. So it was easy with him too.
Whenever you watch these other guys that you're coming in with play, who's maybe a guy that you're looking forward to playing on defense, either next to or have them in front of you or behind you? Is there one of these guys that is part of the commit class that you really like watching them play?
I definitely try to say my DM Marco Jones. Having him in front of me is going to be it's going to make it a lot much easier. I'd say he's a great athlete. Then playing with Noah beside me, and then yeah.
Well, and then you were at Kyle Field just as much as any fan or any player throughout the course of the year. And this is another thing that I asked Landon earlier. Was there a moment that you can remember in any of your trips, Kelvion, where you said, okay, this is for sure why I picked A&M. I'm locked in from here on out. Was there one moment that stands out for you?
Let me think. With A&M, it was I'd say every time I was there, it was always my family, always welcoming. Everybody knew me. So one time before I committed, I was at a basketball game and a fan came to me, an older guy. I think around 60, 70. He said, "Are you Kevin Riggins?" I was like, "Yes, sir." He took his jacket off and gave it to me and said, "You keep it out 20 more."
That's cool. So A&M love, it was felt from day one with you, and now it's official. Kelvion, thank you so much for your time, man. Congratulations on getting to the finish line here, and we'll see you here in a few months in Aggieland.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Bronny, we're going to hit a break here in a second. We're up for it, but I just wanted to say you warned me that this was going to be a really good interview. That kid is awesome.
Yeah, he's always so happy. Kelvion has always got a smile on his face. He's going to be, again, it's just kind of a common theme. And this was what Mike Elko said, was that he was going to go try to not only get guys that can win them football games, but they can also win with the culture battle and the culture change he's trying to create over there. So it's kind of their philosophy going into the portal. We talked about that on TexAgs Live and Recruiting Country, where there's two questions that you got to ask. Can this guy help us win football games? And is this guy going to be a right fit for what we're trying to do here? And it's no different. You're asked those same questions out of the high school ranks. And so Kelvion, again, one of these kids that's just off the charts as a human being. And everybody that kind of interacts with Kelvion, they always say the same stuff. Man, he's just so positive and upbeat about everything. So another really good personality to add to the locker room.
It's a delicate balance where you definitely want to get the highest ranked guys that you can get, the best football players, but getting the right people for your culture, for your locker room, is how you build a championship mentality with everybody buying in.
And again, we're going to start seeing this. This is Mike Elko's now fingerprints on this program. At year one of coaching and year one of roster management, talent acquisition, I would attribute that more to just a scramble, right? I mean, they had to scramble to put the roster together. They did the best they could. We knew it had some shortcomings. 8-4 in your first season, and it was disappointing. 8-4 in your first season, and you haven't gotten to 8 wins in 3 years. And I get it. That's not the goal. That's not why Mike Elko was hired. If he keeps winning 8 games, he knows that. He's not going to be long here, right? Like, they didn't hire him. They didn't fire Jimbo Fisher and hire Mike Elko to keep winning 8 games. So I'm not saying that it's excusable, but it is year one, and it was in scramble mode. Now they've had an entire recruiting cycle to put their fingerprints on the type of players that they're going to get and the type of human beings they want to get. So now, in turn, the fingerprints of Mike Elko are going to be on this program going forward.
All right, we'll come up with much more. We'll break down the offensive line on the other side of that. Right now, we're talking about Rollo Insurance, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. The difference is real, 888-44-ROLLO. They've been taking care of me since I moved to College Station. They can take care of you. They are amazing. They got 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but their headquarters is right here on Highway 6 in College Station. 15 minutes can save you 15%. 15 minutes can also destroy your life. Some things can't wait, but this probably isn't one of them. Go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs and let your personal agent go to work for you right now. And I'm talking about a personal agent that you can call. You'll see around town like mine, Morgan. Again, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Here we go. And we are back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Breakfast this morning provided by Costa Vida. All right. Great interview a moment ago. We've been kind of going through position groups. We haven't had a chance to really tackle the offensive line, and it's a big group, Ronnie.
Well, can we close the door on the running backs? Because we got to Ryden, but we have not talked about Jamarian Morrow, Billy. You had a brief mention of him earlier. It's like a kid that was trending A&M's way for a long time, even in the face of his commitment to Mizzou. And the tape, it's hard not to watch the tape and make comparisons to Ainias Smith.
Yeah, he's got that compact. He's smaller, but he's exceptionally shifty. Got that little jump step to him that makes him, he can be in a phone booth there. And then just look at him right here. There it is.
The lateral quickness.
The lateral quickness and just special teams, catching the ball. I think, with what Colin Klein does, getting him the ball on some jet sweeps and, reverses and things like that, and just let him go to work. But as a running back, he's people forget about Ainias. Bronny is in 2020, Jimbo Fisher had a plan. He thought Ainias Smith would be a massive part of the backfield, almost like a rotation with, obviously that was A-Chain's freshman year. So early in that season was going to be a lot of Ainias / Isaiah Spiller, where you would almost end up calling Ainias a running back. Mm-hmm. And when Caleb Chapman got hurt outside, that forced them to move Chase Lane out of the slot and pretty much go with exclusively Ainias in the slot. I think they had him in the backfield some more against Tennessee and a little net bowl game down the stretch. But really, that was the plan. I think when you make the Ainias comparison, you forget how close he was to playing a lot more running back than he did. And this guy, I think, in the backfield can be a complete weapon as a runner, as a pass catcher, and a return man. And talk about difficult to tackle. I mentioned it, that might be at the top of my list in this class.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it's so hard not to anticipate this kid being a really talented punt returner. Mm-hmm. The skill set is almost identical to Ainias. He may be a little bit heavier coming out of high school than Ainias was, but just the power, the low center of gravity, the contact balance, runs through tackles, makes a man miss.
That's just not natural.
Yeah, it's a really special skill set with the ball in his hands. And we called him a do-it-all type back, David. There was plenty of clips in his highlights of him lining up out wide and playing receiver. Right. And so the versatility, I think, will help him get on the field probably sooner.
And he's the kind of guy that would have ended up at a Missouri and being a 1,400-yard back in the SEC, and you're going, where did that dude come from, and why doesn't A&M have a guy like that? And running back is not necessarily a position where A&M's been lacking since joining the SEC, but you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. How's a guy like that at Missouri? Not at, one of these bigger branded schools in this league. There's so many of. Why is he not in Gainesville or Athens or College Station or Austin or Norman or whatever, but he's in Columbia. That's that kind of guy. So I'm glad that A&M was able to flip him, because I think he's a caliber of player that what A&M's trying to get. I think he's a top-tier SEC athlete.
He's different than everybody else in the class.
Yep.
And you talk about pass catchers or running backs, skill position talent, he's different than everybody in the class.
And that is an area, and I know we've got the running back position looked a lot different when Le'Veon was in there, and you'd had Le'Veon and Reuben. But just realistically, this was a class where A&M really had to start to get elite skill position talent on their roster and start getting there. And they took nice steps, I think, with this class. They're going to have to do a lot more of that in this portal. So when we look up with guys like Morrow, and Kelshawn Johnson and Miles and you know and Keati Armstrong and the running back, you know, or I said Morrow and Tiger. You look up and combine that with what they do in the portal, and we've got to be able to look at those two things. And you know they're going to go add a couple of receivers, and you know they're probably going to go find at least a tight end. We have to look up at that at the end of the day and go, okay, this is a lot more what it needs to look like to win a championship in the SEC or reach the playoff in the SEC, because there's just so much you have to navigate to get there. And we talk about what A&M lost down the stretch. They lost to Lenora Sellers and Rocket Sanders making plays on them. They lost in that tight end. They lost to Cam Coleman making plays on them and Jarquez Hunter. They lost Keandre Lambert-Smith. They lost to Texas and those skill guys making plays on them. You know, like Gunnar Helm, the receivers. You know,
Jaden
Quinn
Blue.
Ewers was a 5-star, you know, top quarterback prospect in the country. Jaden Blue with that catch he made. These are like the last 3 weeks your defense got done in and teams beat you because their playmakers did more. So A&M's that more than I think anything else. You always have to get better everywhere, especially after the first year of a head coach. But I think that area more than any. And so this is a nice start. Now we need to feel even better about what they do in the portal, and you put those two together, and you've got to be able to sit back in a few weeks and go, okay, man, they just got they're going to look night and day better at the skill spots.
All right, do you want to move to the offensive line?
Sure. We can start, and we'll go from end to out or out to end, because we can start with those tackles. And I think the one that's most fresh on everybody's mind is Lamont Rogers, and 6'7", 315 pounds, and a guy that could block Jason Howell, I think, probably. But
he did a good job of blocking Howell. I told Howell, like, if this guy blocks SEC defenders like he held you at bay, trying to get a hold of him for that interview, he'll be an Outland Trophy winner.
But you talk about high upside and athletic offensive lineman. This kid's a standout basketball player. I mean, it just seems like that translates so often to these tackle prospects.
Yeah.
6'7", 310, like I said, and just extremely nimble, light on his feet.
Yep.
Outstanding wingspan. And there is enough in there in terms of power now to really project on it when he gets, in a strength weight program with Tommy Moffitt. He checks all the boxes. Now, again, raw, but there's a reason why he was so highly regarded. A lot of services had him as a 5-star, is because the physical skill set is off the charts.
Off the charts. I mean, he walks in and looks like an NFL offensive line. Like,
already.
All those guys that are on the sideline at A&M at the big games and all these guys that come back, you could put him out there. I saw like Sed Abwehi this weekend and Jaden Peavy. If you just pulled him out of the recruits and set him out there with those guys, you go, yeah, he's one of them. He's an NFL guy coming back for the game. I mean, that's what he looks like as a high school senior. That doesn't guarantee you anything, but when you take that and then you combine that with, like Bronny said, I love the basketball background for these O-linemen, because the word you used was nimble. Light on the feet, nimble. That is a big, big deal to me, and it shows. I don't care whether you can make a shot or not. That's nice too, but like light on your feet and nimble are great descriptions of what I think ties into having elite tackle skills, and that quickness that's required, I think, to be a good basketball player. You watch him; he's not a plotter. He's not out there just because he's big and he can stick his arms up and these little 6'1", 6'2" high school basketball guys can't go up and get it over him.
Right.
He's out there jumping, changing direction, light on his feet, and the arm length. He's a massive dude out there. And look, it's been a while since A&M has fielded a just supremely talented offensive line, like gifted athletes and blockers. I think they had a bunch of great blockers in 2020.
21, we thought we were getting No,
I'm saying on the team.
On the team.
Like 2020, that group, but they weren't. I wouldn't describe like guys like Hawker, Ryan
Carson
McCollum,
Green.
who's still in the NFL, Carson Green, who played in the NFL,
Moore.
Dan Moore. Like I wouldn't call them like gifted athletes. And Dan Moore's had a hell of an early career. Right before that, you had Eric McCoy, who was to me he is a gifted dude, and a 3-star that they found late. But you go back to like the 2011, 2012 O-lines and 2013 and what your boy, who's in here all the time, our guy Jimmy Turner and Mike Sherman assembled, and you'd love to see them get back to that. And guys like, even like Jarvis Harrison and Fetty, said, and then the obvious ones like Luke and Jake. But this is the type guy you would have been recruiting then. And it's the type guy that Bama has several of, Georgia has several of. Unfortunately, we saw Texas had a couple of them, and Cam Williams and Kelton Banks. And you've got to put guys like that on the field because they have to, on some level, Bronny, these blockers have to have the athleticism and the physical traits, the mass, the length, the power to handle defensive linemen in the SEC. So while, like you said, he is raw, he checks every single box in terms of what you want physically and athletically at the position. That's why the whole country wanted him.
Let's finish the rest of the offensive line on the other side. We got to hit a break. You're giving me a look like you disagree.
We better got to hurry. We got
6 more,
yeah.
5 more.
Yeah, well, let's do it. Heritage Films time. That's Chance McClain's company. They make documentary films about families, about family businesses, family ranches. You should really consider getting a documentary done. Let's say that you're a parent of one of these kids signing at A&M. It'd be cool to have this whole day kind of monitored and recorded for the future. And maybe all year long you've been kind of talking about the decision making. Have Chance and his team be an eye in the sky of big family moments. That's what he does. He does it for tailgating. He does it for family businesses, family ranches. He'll do a 2-hour documentary film that you can watch as a family and pass it on to the next generation and the generation after that. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341. Heritage Films, Your Heritage Film, 713-893-8341. And we are back on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Jonte Newman.
David Gardner's Jewelers.
We'll start with Jonte Newman at Bridgeland because his high school head coach is Billy's former roommate. So if you'd like to give us your report on not doom and gloom, but all sunshine and rainbows on Jonte Newman.
I could just tell immediately that he was like being negative. He was almost laughing because he knew that we were going to talk about the game. And I said, I'm just going to call you back. And I mean, I guess all the credit we can give him is that he actually finally sent.
A really good player.
He lets his guys do it where they want to go. He does a good job of it. But he finally, sent A&M a player, and a really good one in Jonte Newman. I know you were really excited when A&M got him, and I think he's gotten nothing but better since then. I've talked to people that have watched a lot of Bridgeland games. I actually want to go watch them this weekend and play Duncanville. I don't know if you're going to that one, but I think
I'm not.
Seth and I might ride up there. But this is a guy who, they also had the other tackle going to OU,
Foje, yep.
and he's a guy that A&M wanted as well. But I talked to a lot of people, not Lonnie, but a lot of people that are real familiar with that program that say, like, if one of them started here and Jonte was here, as the season went on, Jonte is the guy that really showed a tremendous amount of improvement and is kind of, leaving Bridgeland and entering A&M on a real upswing. Had a terrific season. Is still in the midst of a terrific senior season, and he's a guy that the Aggies loved. Like, you can't coach that type of size, and he's another one that's a really athletic tackle.
Yeah, great feet, 6'5", 285. And one of the things I like about watching Jonte play, he wants to finish blocks. You see just over and over a consistent willingness to put people in the dirt. So I know we got to be brief, but I've been a huge Jonte Newman fan since the very first time I saw him after his sophomore year at a camp at Barbers Hill in Mont Bellevue. He walked in and won that O-line camp MVP, and from there his recruiting just took off. Really like his potential down the road, Jonte.
Yep.
Can we talk about Josh Moses now?
Yeah, Josh. We did talk a little bit about Josh. Remember when he came in early, the longest tenured commitment with the first of this 2025 class, committed to Jimbo Fisher and Steve Adazio. Likely, his position at the next level has got to be center. I mean, and he is a smart kid. I'll say this about Josh. Plays 3 instruments, is in a band, and already knows he wants to open up his own restaurant. So he's got some really cool stuff going on off the field too. But yeah, likely a center here at A&M.
Is he going to be one of these guys that plays, then goes and joins the Aggie band at halftime in uniform and then back?
He has to be in the core for that.
Well, they should let him do that for one game. They should let him do that for one game.
I think he plays like bass guitar.
Hey, add it to the band, have a big old lineman walking down playing the bass, now forming at the north end. No, I like the fact that Moses committed so early. He stuck with it. A&M stuck with him through a coaching change. This is where he wants to be, and the Aggies wanted him here. So
it's an important school to note, too.
True. There's
Houston
so
legacy,
much talent there now.
So much talent, and it's run by Reggie Brown. His son, Mike Brown's a receiver that A&M's in a good spot with in the 26 class. They have a fantastic quarterback in that class as well. It's kind of a really cool like setup they've got in the city of Houston.
All right, we have 45 seconds. Marcus Garcia, Tyler Thomas. I think we'll talk about them tonight at 5 to 7.
Yeah, we'll get to the rest of them.
And by the way, they loved Tyler Thomas.
Yeah, Tyler Thomas was one that the staff was really excited about.
All right, gentlemen, great job on the show today. Thank you so much. And it was actually a different kind of experience doing the show with most of the guys signing in the 8 o'clock hour. It was pretty cool. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live. As we mentioned, Bronny's going to be hosting a show today from 5 to 7 on TexAgs.com and our YouTube page. Billy will be there for part of the show. Jason Howell will join him. They'll do the latest and greatest. We'll have Coach Elko's press conference here in about an hour or so. That's going to do it for TexAgs Live on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you mañana.